Assalamualaikum and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be starting this virtual event shortly. In the meantime, please register yourself through the link provided in the chat box so that we could provide a certificate of attendance to you. Remember to subscribe to our Facebook page, MYSA Angkasa, and YouTube channel, MYSA TV. Please like and share this event on your social media so that as many as possible could benefit from this event. Please be seated and relax and prepare your own coffee or tea as we'll begin shortly. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the MYSA Technical Talk 2021. So it's great to see everyone so enthusiastic today. My name is Ahmad Temizian, and of course, it's my pleasure to have the chance to warmly welcome all of you and be the host for this event today virtually. Let me welcome our guest of honor, Puan Nik Mazlina Nik Mustafa, Deputy Director General Technical Services and Operations, Malaysian Space Agency, MYSA, Professor Insigne Dr. Yu Hong Tat, Chairman of IEEE Geoscience Remote Sensing Society, GRSS Malaysia, Professor Technologist Shamsukama Abu Sama, Head of National Aerospace Industry Coordinating Office, NICO, Mr. Sheikh Shamsul Ibrahim Sheikh Abdul Majid, Executive Director of the Malaysian Investment Development Authority, MIDA, Dr. Sean Sia, Chief Executive Officer of Angkasa X Holding Corporation, Mr. Najib Muhammad Noor, President of the Malaysia Aerospace Industry Association, MAIA. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first series of MYSA Technical Talk 2021. brought to you by the Malaysian Space Agency MYSA in collaboration with the IEEE Geoscience Remote Sensing Society GRSS Malaysia. The theme of today's event is Space Industry in Malaysia, Enabling Factors. First of all, we would like to thank everyone for joining this virtual event. As we all know, the nation has been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic since 2020, and virtual event like this is a new norm for us. This virtual event aims to be the platform for knowledge sharing and technology updates for the benefit of our space community. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to brief a little bit about the flow of this event. This event will begin with welcoming address by the Deputy Director General of MYSA. Then we'll listen to a speech from the Chairman of IEEE GRSS Malaysia. Afterwards, we'll proceed with the technical talks by our invited speakers, and the session will be moderated by my colleague, Dr. Elena Wo-Lai-Ling. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to invite Puan Nik Mazlina Nik Mustafa, Deputy Director General Technical Services Operations of MYSA, to deliver her welcoming address. Please welcome.
Thank you, Amar. Yang berbahagia Profesor Insinyur Dr. Yu Hong Tat, Chairman of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, Geoscience and Remote Sensing Society Malaysia Chapter. Our presenters today, Professor Technology Samsul Kamal Abu Sama, Head of National Aerospace Industry Coordinating Office, Mr. Sheikh Samsul Ibrahim Sheikh Abdul Majid, Executive Director, Malaysian Investment Development Authority, Dr. Sean Seah, Executive Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Angkasa X Holdings Corporation, and Mr. Najib Muhammad Noor, President, Malaysia Aerospace Industry Association. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. First and foremost, let us express our deepest gratitude to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala that we can gather in the Malaysian Space Agency Technical Talk first series for 2021 this morning. I would like to start by thanking our co-organizer for this event, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, Geoscience and Remote Sensing Malaysia Chapter. On behalf of MYSA, I would like to express my highest appreciation and welcome to all of you for taking the time to join this event this morning. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, the government recognized space as a strategic sector, essential for our sovereignty, security and economic growth. And for that matter, the National Space Policy 2030 has been formulated and approved by the National Science Council in 2017. The National Space Policy, under the purview of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, MOSTI, enables the planning and development of the national space sector to be carried out in an orderly and efficient manner. Under the policy, the government has undertaken various initiatives and programs. Among the key initiatives is the drafting of the Malaysian Space Board Bill, and we are looking forward to passing the bill in the upcoming parliamentary session. This bill aims to ensure the activities of the national space sector are carried out safely in compliance with the international treaties. The bill will also serve as a catalyst to increase investor confidence and further boost the development of the country's space industry. Another key initiative is the National Remote Sensing Satellite Program, aimed to develop the local capacity and skills in space technology, and in line with the Cabinet decision in 2019, it will be implemented through public-private partnership. To encourage and support space technology and products development by the local industries, the government is currently developing the Space Industry Strategic Plan, aims to drive the local space industries to be more competitive. All these initiatives will be a part of a comprehensive space sector blueprint, known as the Malaysian Space Exploration 2030. The blueprint that is currently being developed by MYSA, with the involvement of various government agencies, industries, as well as academia, will be able to strengthen the national space sector ecosystem to be more competitive, and will contribute at least 0.3% to the country's gross domestic product and create 500 highly skilled workers in the space sector by 2030. Finally, we hope the cooperation of all those involved in the space industry to work together under the same blueprint to deliver concrete results for the benefit of our country. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this MYSA technical talk can inspire and spark your interest to venture into space. I would also like to extend our gratitude and thanks to all presenters and attendees and all the parties involved in making this MYSA technical talk possible. Thank you. Back to you, Amma.
Thank you, Puan, for the welcoming address. Next, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Yu Hong Tat, Chairman of IEEE Geoscience Remote Sensing Society Malaysia, to deliver his speech. Professor, the time is yours.
Yang Berusaha Tuan Haji Azli Kamil Napia, Director General of Malaysian Space Agency, Encik Anan Isma, Deputy Director General Research and Development MYSA, Puan Nik Maslina Nik Mustafa, Deputy Director General of Technical Services and Operation MYSA, Dr. Elena Wu Lai Ling, Moderator, Speaker Mr. David A. Jones, Managing Director of Malaysia Aerospace Industry Association, Professor Technology Samsu Kama Abu Sama, Head National Aerospace Industry Coordinating Office, Mr. Sheikh Samsu Ibrahim Sheikh Abdul Majid, Executive Director, Malaysian Investment Development Authority, Dr. Swansia, Executive Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of Angkasa X Holding Corporation. A very good morning to every one of you. First of all, on behalf of IEEE Geoscience and Remote Sensing Society Malaysia Chapter, I would like to thank Tuan Haji Azli Kamil Napia, Director General of Malaysian Space Agency, speakers and moderator of MYSA Technical Talk Series 1 for 2021, the organizing team and the participants for making this event a successful one. The theme of today's event, Space Industry in Malaysia, the enabling factors, is very timely. With the recent travelling of civilians through SpaceX Inspiration 4 mission, Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic flights, the role of space industry has become even more important. We have to work together to advance Malaysians' capacity in this area through training, joint research, collaboration, and space-related project planning and implementation. Today's event gathers a group of distinguished speakers who will share with us on this direction, and I'm sure we'll be able to gain much knowledge and insights from their valuable sharing. Before I end my speech, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to Tuan Haji Azli Kamil and Malaysian Space Agency again for this event. IEEE Geoscience and Remote Sensing Society Malaysia Chapter will continue to work with Malaysian Space Agency to advance in this area. One of these is IGAS 2022. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome every one of you to join the IEEE Geoscience and Remote Sensing Symposium, IGAS 2022, which will be held the first time in Malaysia on 17 to 22nd July 2022 in Kuala Lumpur. Thank you, stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the speech. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to proceed with the main agenda of today, which is to listen to the sharing and insight from our distinguished speakers. To continue the session introducing the speakers, I would like to invite Dr. Elena Wo Lai Ling, the Research Officer from the Malaysian Space Agency. The session is yours, Doctor.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Amar. So once again, a very warm welcome to all viewers who have joined us this morning. As mentioned by my colleague, Mr. Amar, this event is jointly organized by the IEEE Geoscience Remote Sensing Society Malaysia and the Malaysian Space Agency, MYSA. Well, since the beginning of space age, 63 years ago, space domain has become a critical infrastructure in developing a nation. In the recent years, the space sector has recently witnessed a growth in the number of nations involving in space activities for the first time, or nations resurging into space sector and rebuilding their capacities and programs following a long hiatus, such as Malaysia. Emerging socio-economic opportunities, new trends that lower the entrance barrier, and the role of nation to play a more active role in addressing global challenges and creating a sustainable development, while at the same time addressing the nation's needs in a more effective and efficient way. That is the current call for all these nations. Well, in line with that, we have chosen the theme for our webinar today, which is Space Industry in Malaysia, the Enabling Factors. We are very honored to have with us 4 distinguished guest speakers today to share with us their knowledge and their views on what are the enabling factors for the space industry in Malaysia to flourish. Allow me to welcome our very first speaker, Professor Technologist Shamsul Kamar bin Abu Sama. Professor Shamsul is currently the head of National Aerospace Industry Coordinating Office, in short NICO, under the Ministry of International Trade and Industry. He joined NICO since April 2016 after serving Aerospace Malaysia Innovation Centre, AMIC, as the Chief Executive Officer from February 2014 till March 2016. Previously, he was the head of Aerospace and Advanced Material at the Malaysian Industry Government Group for High Technology, or in short MITE, and has served in Sapura Defence Sdn Bhd as well as Aero Alenia Technology Sdn Bhd in various technical positions. Professor Shamsul is an experienced industry leader with a demonstrated history of working in aerospace and defense industry, involving policy formulation and implementation, ecosystem development, human capital development, international partnership and collaboration, and research and technology. Among his notable contributions include the formulation, development, and implementation of the Malaysian Aerospace Industry Blueprint 2030, the 12 Malaysia Plan Aerospace Strategic Plan, ICP Operating System, study on performance-based contracting, study on aerospace TVET supply and demand, and Aerospace SMEs Development Initiative. He was also appointed as Honorary Professor in the Department of Mechanical, Materials, and Manufacturing Engineering by the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, since August 2016, and an Adjunct Professor in the Faculty of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering in UTHM since November 2020. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering degree in Electronic and Electrical from the University of Portsmouth in United Kingdom, as well as a Diploma in Electrical Engineering from UTM. Please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Technologist Shamsul Kamar with his presentation entitled Accelerating Malaysia Space Industry Ecosystem Development. Over to you, Prof. Shamsul.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all. Thank you, Dr. Elena, our moderator for today's technical talk session, and the organizing team from MYSA and IEEE GRSS for the opportunity given to me to deliver my presentation on accelerating Malaysia's space industry ecosystem development. On behalf of the National Aerospace Industry Coordinating Office, NICO, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MITI, I would like to welcome all of you to the first MYSA Technical Talk Series 2021 in conjunction with the World Space Week. Before we proceed with the presentation, I would like to introduce my organization as well as the relations to space sector supply chain development. NICO Malaysia is a special aerospace unit established by MITI to act as the main industry facilitator in implementing the key initiative of the Malaysian Aerospace Industry Blueprint 2030. One of our key functions is to promote and facilitate the involvement of local players, particularly small medium enterprises, into the global supply chain, which include the space sector. In delivering our mandate, we collaborated with various ministry and agencies, namely MYSA and Civil Aviation Authority Malaysia, CAM, on space and aviation regulations, MIDA, MATRADE, and SME Corporation on supply chain development, the Department of Skills Development and Human Resources Development Corporation on skills talent development. The next few slides will highlight the policy related to the Malaysia aerospace industry that is also covering the space sector. The Malaysian Aerospace Industry Blueprint 2030 has set a target for Malaysia to become the leading aerospace hub in Southeast Asia by 2030 and play an important role within the global supply chain. The space sector is one of the key areas identified under the system integration of the blueprint. 41 key initiatives have been identified under the blueprint, of which 11 key initiatives are directly related to the space sector. These initiatives involve policies, regulation, research and technology, investment promotion, talent development, market, and local supply chain development. As you can see from the slide, we are now entering the phase 2 implementation of the blueprint, of which the first phase was implemented throughout 11 master plan covering aerospace industry development, supply chain development, and aerospace research and technology. Throughout the 11 master plan, specific focus is being given to strengthen the institutional framework and policy on space sector. Three main strategic initiatives achieved during these periods are launching of the National Space Policy in 2017, formation of Malaysian Space Agency, MYSA, in 2019, involving the merger of National Space Agency Angkasa and Malaysian Remote Sensing Agency, and later the rationalization of space activities under one roof, which is MYSA. And lastly is the drafting of Malaysia Space Act that will be concluded in the near future. The expansion of space activities in Malaysia has led to the interest of local space community and foreign players to explore possible projects in Malaysia involving research and technology activities and investment in new space economy. A number of R&D and investment projects were announced and implemented starting from 2017. These projects focus on rocket development, missile, launching system, nano-satellite development, spaceport, mission control system, and satellite communication system. The implementation of R&D and investment projects in Malaysia has formed a stronger collaboration between the industry player with local university and research institute, not only giving a new hope to local researchers and students. This project managed to bring back Malaysian subject matter experts to serve the space sector of the country. In addition, MITI, NICO, and MIDA continue to receive queries from many external parties who are looking at Malaysia as potential location for business expansion and potential partnership. Moving into the second phase of the implementation of the Blueprint 2030, the government on Monday announced the 12th Malaysia Plan. Apart from initiative to recover due to the effect of COVID-19 pandemic, the aerospace industry will be transformed to enable Malaysia's supply chain to produce more complex aerospace products and services. The initiative will include, among others, developing a sustainable ecosystem, clustering and zoning of aerospace activities, establishing an aerospace digital system, and venturing into sustainable energy, or better known as sustainable aviation. All of these initiatives will improve local supply chain capability and competitiveness, thus strengthening Malaysia's position in the global supply chain. Analyzing the aerospace industry framework highlighted in the 12th Malaysia Plan document, specific action plans for space sector can be derived, covering the following areas: enhancement of local supply chain for space sector through an integrated supply chain system, development of SMEs to embark into space-related activities in partnership with local champions, development of space sector investment roadmap to identify what are the niche areas suitable for Malaysia to lead, encourage local expertise, and develop new capabilities as an effort to produce indigenous space products. This will lead to increase of local content while reducing the importation of foreign technology. Next, we would like to strengthen the collaboration between academia and industry towards producing local talent through the enhancement of TVET program for space activities. Ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, opportunities in new space economy are huge. Malaysia space community should leverage on the government initiative to elevate aerospace industry to the next level and becoming a significant contributor to the global supply chain. Strategic collaboration and smart partnership are the key elements that will accelerate the development of Malaysia's space sector ecosystem, thus expanding global market shares and attracting quality investment into the country. It is hoped that by 2030, the space sector will contribute about 3.2 billion ringgit Malaysia GDP to the nation, with the structured way of developing the ecosystem. We believe that this can be achieved. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation and thank you for listening to the topic that I've highlighted today. If there is any question, feel free to ask during the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Shamsul. Indeed, the Malaysian Aerospace Blueprint 2030 has certainly provided the framework for us and outlined a lot of potentials in expanding the space sector in Malaysia. And this is actually a huge boost to the country. Now, before we move on to the next presentation, I would just like to remind all viewers, if you have any questions for today's session, please feel free to use the comment area in Facebook or YouTube and drop us your name, email, association, question, and to whom the question is directed to. Our Q&A session will immediately start after the fourth presentation. Our next speaker, let me welcome Mr. Sheikh Shamsul Ibrahim Sheikh Abdul Majid. Mr. Sheikh Shamsul is the current Executive Director for Manufacturing Development Non-Resource Division in MYSA. Having graduated from University of Malaya since 1995, he started his career in MYSA in August 1996. He has served in MYSA for 25 years in various capacities and functions, which include investment promotion, project evaluation, industrial development, in MYSA headquarters, as well as overseas offices such as in the United States of America, Japan, and Singapore. As the Executive Director for Manufacturing Development Division, he undertook a leadership role for MYSA's electronics, machinery, and metal, Transportation and Building Technologies Division. He's also currently acting as the Executive Director for Manufacturing Development Division since May 2021. I'm sure his topic of presentation will be of interest to most industry players. Let us warmly welcome Mr. Shamsul with his presentation entitled MYSA Facilitation to Business Ventures in the Space Industry in Malaysia. Over to you, Mr. Shamsul.
Thank you, Dr. Elena Wu Lai Leng, the moderator of today's event, for the kind introduction of me. A very good morning to all of you participating in today's MYSA Technical Talk Series 1, Space Industry in Malaysia, the Enabling Factors event. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Malaysian Space Agency, MYSA, for inviting the Malaysian Investment Development Authority, MIDA, to speak at this event. It gives me a great pleasure to share some of MIDA insights with all of you today. I'm happy that MIDA is working closely with MYSA, and we had several meetings recently to explore the type of opportunities and programs our local and foreign companies could leverage on their business ventures in the space industry in the country. In this regard, I would like to share my presentation on MIDA's facilitation to business ventures in the space industry in Malaysia, to provide you with updates on our facilitation to companies wishing to invest in the space-related projects in the country. The Malaysian Investment Development Authority was incorporated as a statutory body under the Malaysian Industrial Development Authority, MIDA Act 1965. MIDA is the first point of contact for any businessman who wants to set up their operations in Malaysia. As the principal investment promotion agency of Malaysia, MIDA has been instrumental in attracting FDI for more than 50 years since its establishment in 1967. Today, MIDA is Malaysia's cutting-edge, dynamic and pioneering force in opening pathways to new frontiers around the globe. MIDA provides end-to-end solutions, including approvals for manufacturing license, investment incentives, expatriate positions, import duty exemptions, and we also handhold investors until the implementation of their projects. MIDA also has global footprints with strategic network of 20 overseas offices located in the capital exporting countries to attract and facilitate foreign investments into Malaysia. To further support investors, MIDA also has 12 state offices to assist investors in implementing their projects. As you are aware, based on OECD, space industry, or also known as space economy, is defined as the full range of activities and the use of resources that create and provide value and benefits to human beings in the course of exploring, understanding, managing and utilizing space. The space economy can be divided into three components as follows. The upstream sector, example, R&D, manufacturing and launch. The downstream sector, space infrastructure operations and down-to-earth products and services that directly rely satellite data and signals to operate and function. Activities that are derived from space-derived activities but not dependent on it to function. Example, technology transfers from the space sector to automotive or medical sectors. The space industry in Malaysia is expecting to contribute about 0.3% or 3.2 billion ringgit Malaysia to the country's GDP and create up to 5,000 jobs by 2030. Currently, Malaysia is ranked third among the Southeast Asian countries in this industry. It is a strategic sector with high potential of return And many countries in the world, especially the developed ones, are already at the forefront of the ecosystem development of the industry. The space industry in the past was dominated by national space agencies across the globe. Currently, the advent of new space players, the dynamics in the space industries have transformed. It has been observed that space agencies and private space companies are working with each other to further achieve their objectives. According to Satellite Industry Association, SIA, based in the US, the global space economy generated revenue of $371 billion US dollars, with commercial satellite industry continued to be dominant, accounting for 271 billion US dollars, or nearly 73% of the world's space business. While satellite broadband revenue grew by 10% during 2020 to 2.8 billion US dollars, and radio frequency, carbon emission, and other mapping capabilities increased to 2.6 billion US dollars. Besides, revenues generated by commercial launch services also increased by 9% to 5.3 billion US dollars as the US solidifies its market share leadership in launch services, and global satellite ground equipment revenues maintained at 4% growth over the previous years to just over 135 billion US dollars, led by continued worldwide sales of global navigation satellite systems, or GNSS, terminals such as smartphones and tablets. Before I explain on the National Investment Aspiration, or in short NIA, let me touch a little on the National Space Policy 2030. The policy was announced in February 2017 by the government with the objective to develop the country's capabilities in the space sector to support economic development and knowledge advancement for nation's prosperity. We observe that the policy is also aligned with the two other major policies, namely National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy, or in short the STIN, and Malaysia Aerospace Blueprint 2030. The 5 thrusts of the National Space Policy 2030 include: strengthen the governance to optimize the access to space capabilities, focus on space technology, infrastructure, and applications significant to the country, accelerating development of space science and technology with expertise, contribute to the economy and nation's prosperity, and increase and strengthen the international cooperation and relationship. These thrusts of the policy are also aligned with the National Investment Aspirations NIA, a forward-looking growth framework that will outline the basis for Malaysia's investment policy reforms. The NIA encourages sustained flow of quality investments in new and possible complex growth areas, foster innovation and sophistication, create greater job opportunities, and improve income prospects. The 5 core parameters framing the NIA are: increasing economic diversity and complexity through the development of sophisticated products and services with high local research and development and innovation, create high-skilled jobs to provide better income for the rakyat, expand and integrate domestic linkages into regional and global supply chains by improving their resiliency, develop new and existing clusters focusing on high productivity sectors, including local products and services, and improve inclusivity to contribute towards the social economic developmental agenda. These policies that I mentioned just now will help support the orderly development of the space industry in the country. The Malaysian government will be able to safeguard the interests of the country by recognizing the needs for access to space capabilities to improve the services needed by the people and national security, and to monitor and supervise its national space activity effectively in accordance with international law. In the pursuit to develop the space industry in the country, the enabling factors to support core space activities are very important. One of the critical enabling factors is the existing industries that can effectively supporting the space industry ecosystem. Malaysia has strong and mature ecosystem of industries which include electrical and electronics, machinery and equipment, engineering supporting, and to some extent our aerospace industry. In this regard, space industry players can leverage the strength of these industry ecosystems in the efforts to establish their space-related business activities in Malaysia. As we all know, the space industry is expensive to venture in. Hence, there is a need for a strategic plan to ensure good return of investments, or ROI, for the companies. One of the top priorities in space development is the capability to sustain this venture. Therefore, concerted efforts to build strong capacity and capabilities among the local companies are of an utmost critical element should we endeavor to be the prominent country for the space industry. As far as MYSA is concerned, the space industry is the extension of the aerospace industry, which we are promoting it heavily for industry players to keep investing in the country. Aerospace covers both industrial and commercial activities related to aviation within the Earth, atmosphere, or outer space. The aerospace industry is regarded by the Malaysian government as strategic industries that gives significant contributions to the country's industrialization and technological development. Over the past 2 decades, the aerospace industry in Malaysia has grown substantially. To further support the development of the space industry in the country, the Malaysian government through MYSA offers a wide range of attractive tax incentives for the manufacturing projects and related services industries under the Promotion of Investment Act 1986 and the Income Tax Act 1967. In addition, the government also provides special incentives for business activities adopting Industry Revolution 4.0 technologies. These incentives include Smart Automation Grant, Industry Forward Intervention Fund, Domestic Investment Strategic Fund, and High Impact Fund. Despite COVID-19 pandemic, Malaysia remains a primary destination of choice for investors. MYSA is focusing in attracting high-quality investments which have elements of high technology, capital-intensive, R&D, and design, high value-added, export-oriented, and knowledge-intensive, as outlined in the National Investment Aspiration Framework. Malaysian industry players have not been immune, being subject to the same pressures and adopting many of the same measures. They face real pressure to cut costs by managing their operational cash flows, while simultaneously working to retain skilled workers. With relatively high barriers to entry, insufficient industry support will result in job losses, companies exiting the industry, and the potential permanent closure of factories. Despite all these challenges, MYSA approved 7 aerospace manufacturing and MRO projects in 2020, with investments amounting to 150 million ringgit Malaysia, out of which 90 million or 60% of the investment comes from foreign investors, while the balance of 58 million or 39% of the investment comes from domestic sources. These approved projects are expected to provide 278 new jobs opportunities to our people. The Malaysian governments continue to be pro-business, prudent and pragmatic in our policies to ensure that Malaysia's investment climate remains attractive for businesses, not only to conduct business activities but also expand and diversify existing operations. To improve our delivery system to companies, MYSA has implemented the online system through our Invest Malaysia portal for the manufacturing license incentive applications. We also have a dedicated team under the Project Acceleration and Coordination Unit, or in short PACU, to facilitate in speeding up the implementation of investment projects in Malaysia. Due to the challenges to local and foreign business executives to proceed with their cross-border physical business activities during COVID-19 period, MYSA is facilitating business travelers' movements in and out of the country for business purposes through the One Stop Center or OSC initiative. The government of Malaysia continues to promote and facilitate high quality foreign and domestic direct investments in Malaysia to boost economic confidence during this COVID-19 recovery period. In the Budget 2021 announcement, the government has announced to increase expenditure to further stimulate the economy and mitigate the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Economic sectors are pushed to recover in 2021 through the strong expansionary allocations in manufacturing and services sectors, with the introduction of new tax incentives, which include 1 billion ringgit Malaysia incentive package for aerospace and electronics industries, relocation incentives, extension of tax incentives for aerospace industry, special high technology and high value-added promotion package, and commercialization of R&D. Now I come to the end of my presentation. I would like to thank all of you for your patience in listening to my presentation. I am more than happy to answer your questions during the Q&A session. Thank you again.
Thank you for the interesting talk, Mr. Shamsul. I truly agree that in order to ensure the sustainability of the space industries in Malaysia, we need to have the various strategies in place. Not only it underlines the government's commitment to build a strong space ecosystem, but it will also provide confidence to both internal and external investors. Without further delay, let us continue to our third presentation for today. We have with us Dr. Sean Shea, the Chief Executive Officer from Angkasa X Holding. Dr. Sean is also the Executive Director of both SeaTech Ventures Corporation and AsiaFin Holdings Corporation. He graduated from California State University in the United States of America with a bachelor degree in computer engineering and a master degree in computer science. He also holds a doctorate in business administration from Riviera University. In 1994, Dr. Sean began his career at the Silicon Valley, California, as a software developer for Software Publishing Corporation and Netscape Communication Corporation. He returned to Malaysia in 1997 and was recruited by Sun Microsystems to provide consultancy to the MSc Smart School and Telemedicine flagship projects. In 2001, he started his entrepreneurship journey where he co-founded R4 Private Limited Singapore and Galaxy's Public Limited Company. During his time in Galaxy's, Dr. Sia served as the CEO until end of 2017. In 2018, he co-founded Tech Ventures Corporation. He's currently the Deputy Chairman of the National ICT Association of Malaysia, or in short PICOM, and the Deputy Chairman of the World Information Technology and Services Alliances, WITSA. He also serves as the Vice President of the Malaysia Cross-Border E-Commerce Association that represents Malaysia business communities with the main objective of facilitating, promoting, and enhancing the competitiveness of both domestic and international trades via cross-border e-commerce platforms. Dr. Sia will be presenting on Angkasa X, a technological social inclusion company. Over to you, Dr. Sia.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Sean Sia. I am the founder and executive chairman of Angkasa X Group. Angkasa X is a company, Malaysian company that we established in year 2020, okay, focusing on satellite engineering. We want to build satellite in Malaysia. So we are also believe in social inclusion, how to provide social inclusion using satellite technologies. So I will go into more details with some help from some slides that I'm going to present now. Let me go to the slides. Okay, so this is Angkasa X holding group. Okay, as I said, we believe in technological social inclusion by using technology to provide social inclusion via connectivity. Okay, and Angkasa X also in the process of working with countries in ASEAN to establish the ASEAN space economy. So this is our vision. Okay, we have a vision of creating a world where connectivity is a basic affordable necessity for the betterment of mankind and therefore improve the standard of living and eradicate poverty for ASEANs living in the rural area. Our vision is aligned with a number of United Nations SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, particularly goal number 1 and number 4, to eradicate poverty for ASEANs ASEAN living in the rural area, and also to provide quality educations. How do we go about to achieve this mission, these visions? Okay, we have a 4 steps missions. First and foremost is to invest heavily in R&D, research and development of Buatan Malaysia, a design in Malaysia satellites. These are low Earth orbit satellites, LEO satellites. Okay, we will own the IP, create and own the IP. And once the IP, the design is created, okay, we will source components to build out the satellite. Okay, of course, these are components provided for all around the world. Okay, and we will set up the AIT, assembly, integration, and testing facilities in Malaysia. Okay, which I go to a bit details later. Okay, with the AIT facilities, we can assemble, put together the satellite, integrate them, test them before we launch it. As you can imagine, this is a one-way ticket to the space. So we must make sure the satellite that we launch is in working conditions, has its own so-called lifespan, okay, depending on the design, okay, minimum 5 years of lifespan. So these are the state-of-the-art low Earth orbit satellites. So the satellite, once we launch the satellites, okay, in the near future, okay, we will provide internet connectivities to the rural area in ASEAN, where traditional fiber network is limited or not reachable. Okay, and we will launch up to 500 satellites. Okay, these are high definition, high throughput satellite HTS by forming ASEAN link satellite constellations, 500 of them to service the ASEAN Southeast Asia region. So with the satellite constellations formed, we will offer something we call satellite as a service, SaaS, okay, to country in ASEAN to assist each of the government throughout their national digital transformation strategy, particularly how to roll out this digital strategy into the rural area, okay, in ASEAN countries. Okay, in Malaysia, we have a very small rural area, a couple of million, 7 million. But if you move out to a country like Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, over 100 million of people in Indonesia living in the rural area. In the entire Southeast Asia, there are more than 350 million people living in the rural area. So this is our primary target of customers that we can provide our internet services, our satellite internet services to them. So once we roll out the satellite as a service, SaaS, our most important and last mission is to set up a space tech ecosystem in Malaysia. This is to attract technology providers globally into Malaysia to set up their local R&D localization hub in Malaysia. By doing so, we create jobs, okay, and to attract more investors into Malaysia. Okay, a quick introduction of myself. Okay, I am studying in the US, okay, with the undergraduate in computer engineering many years ago, okay, and a master in computer science. I'm also have a doctorate degree in business administrations. So I've been working in the tech industry for many years. Founded and listed quite a number of companies. Okay, the first one was founded in 2002, a company listed in the US, in Singapore, sorry. Okay, A4. The second company is a company called Galaxy, which is listed in LSE, London Stock Exchange, in 2014. I was the CEO until 2017, and we decided to sell the company to a China buyer. Year 2000, I listed another company together with my partner. It's called CTech Ventures. Yeah, this listing is in the US. Again, if you successfully list Angkasa X towards the end of next year, okay, we will have, that will be my fourth IPO company listed in the US. So I am the current deputy chairman of World Information Technology and Services Alliance called WITSA. WITSA is a global association that has 85 countries as its members that represent 90% of the worldwide ICT market. So I'm the deputy chairman of WITSA and also the deputy chairman of National ICT Association of Malaysia, PICOM. Okay, my partner, Dr. William, he's also the CFO, okay, of the company, and he is has a lot of expertise in himself, okay, including listed a company in the US and in LSE as well, and also have his expertise in AI, cloud computing, and all kinds of network security. So we have set up a Malaysia engineering R&D team in Malaysia. Again, we are fortunate, okay, with the engineering expertise, with the satellite engineering expertise that we have in Malaysia. Okay, this is mainly accumulated from the years of investment, okay, by Malaysia government. Okay, started in year 2014-15. Okay, when we designed and launched our first LEO satellite, a remote sensing satellite called GRSS in year 2009. So a lot of these engineers that used to work for this first satellite project in Malaysia, okay, we are fortunate able to recruit them to join Angkasa X. Some of them has left Malaysia and went to UAE, Japan, okay, focusing on those satellite projects in those countries. But we were glad that they are able and are willing to return to Malaysia and to join Angkasa X to develop our own satellite. Again, we will need a lot of expertise, and we hope that more and more engineers that we work together can bring more talent into Malaysia. So what we do is to develop, to build, and to launch LEO satellite constellations. Okay, and this is called ASEAN Link. And this satellite that you see on the screen is a LEO satellite designed by Telesat. Okay, this is a 800 kilogram satellite. Okay, Angkasa X will build a 500 kilogram satellites, okay, to service the internet connectivity requirements for countries in Southeast Asia. We will build 500 of this in the next 10 years, try to provide connectivity to 30 million or more subscribers in Southeast Asia that require connectivity to the internet via satellite. So we are building and launching our satellite into a NAPCO, a near equatorial orbit, which is an orbit that on top of the equator, that will launch our satellite into these orbits again. And the good news is very few companies, very few countries in ASEAN, okay, are actually applying to launch a satellite into this orbit, as opposed people like Starlink, people like China, they are launching their satellites into these polar orbits. So we have a good opportunity to get very good orbits that belong to Malaysia, that belong to Angkasa X, okay, in that NAPCO near equatorial orbits. So we have a 9-step company roadmap. Okay, as I said, we are doing research and development. Step 1, step 2 is to build our intellectual property and also secure the Earth orbits via ITU. We have done that as well. Third step is the component sourcing and testing. We have started that as well. So what the next year onwards, January onwards, we are building our AIT facilities in Penang, in USM. Okay, we are doing the AIT, assembly, integration and testing of our first set of design. This is a 6U, 12 kilogram remote sensing satellites that we scheduled to launch at the end of next year, 2022. So again, we are designing 2 sets of satellites. The first one is a remote sensing AI satellites. The second type is a larger satellite that weighs about 500 kilograms. These are HDS, high throughput satellites, that we start designing now and scheduled to finish our design in 2022, okay, and do the integration and component sourcing in 2023. And we're thinking to planning to launch our HDS, the large satellite, in 2024. This HDS satellite will provide satellite connectivity in terms of broadband connectivity to countries in Southeast Asia. So after launching step 5, okay, our satellites into the NAPCO, the near equatorial orbit, okay, we will construct our ASEAN Link satellite constellations. So with the ASEAN Link satellite constellations, we will provide satellite as a service for countries in Southeast Asia, okay, to provide internet connectivity to rural area in Southeast Asia. And the last step of the roadmap is to establish a space tech ecosystem in Malaysia for the Southeast Asian market. Okay, and this is a 10-year plan that we have. Okay, but most importantly, we need to start looking into building the space and satellite ecosystem. This is basically a joint venture between the global technology partner that we will attract. We will bring them from Russia, from China, from US, okay, to work with our local technology supplier, the E&E manufacturers in Malaysia, in Penang, in Selangor. Okay, this partnership is proven works. Okay, and this is how Malaysia built our Proton car. This is how we have our own automobile industries, by bringing technology partners to work with local partners to build out technology to build the Malaysia, Buatan Malaysia products. Okay, that's how 20 odd years later, we have our own car industries in Malaysia. Because of the early days, we started our partnership with global partner like Mitsubishi. So with the subsystem we built together with this joint venture, okay, Angkasa X will put together the components, okay, AIT, and we launch our satellite and provide satellite operations for countries in Southeast Asia to provide services to the subscribers. So this is how it works to build the entire ecosystem. So our investment is to bring in technology partners, okay, with licensing of education and technology from all these global players in the world. The only 3 countries in the world are focusing and with the Excel technology in satellite engineering, which are Russian, China, and the US. Sputnik is a Russian company. It's a privately held Russian company that has designed and launched satellites for a number of countries in the world. So Angkasa X is partnering with Sputnik from Russia, and also partner with Centel, which is a subsidiary of Kazakhstan Space. Okay, we are bringing their education programs. Okay, these are professional courses from these two global players into Malaysia. The aim is to bring their courses into Malaysia so we can educate the local engineers, the local professors, students, so they could bring their skills up to the international standard in terms of satellite engineering. So these courses will be roll out with USM. We have signed a contract with USM to partner together to build Malaysia talent development. Okay, so these are satellite engineering talent development. With these courses, we hope to be able to roll out courses with the USM to teach not only the professors and students, but also the E&E engineers who wants to build up the expertise in terms of satellite engineering. Okay, one fine day, if you decided want to be a satellite engineers in the future, you can sign up these courses as well. So we'll roll out these talent development courses in 2022 next year, hopefully after the borders are open. So we are also working closely with a few governments. Okay, with state government in Malaysia and also BIM Niaga. These are the countries. These are the countries who roll out our services. Okay, these are the various government collaborators that we have. Okay, we also have received a lot of support from the local government and the national government. Okay, from local government. So these are ITU, which is I go into the next slide to explain what it is. Okay, MDAC, MIDA, and MYSA. MYSA is our partner that we work together. Okay, to develop the entire ecosystem, space tech ecosystem, and also leveraging on the current AIT facilities that MYSA has to develop our big satellite, the 500 kilogram satellites. Okay, in order for Malaysia or Angkasa X to launch our satellites, we need to be an ITU member. Okay, Angkasa X has become an ITU-R members officially 2 months ago. So with this membership, only 3 companies in Malaysia actually have this membership category, which is Miasat, Angkasa X, and Celcom. With this ITU-R membership, Angkasa X has the eligibility, okay, to file and for the low Earth orbits that Malaysia and Angkasa X to have, so that we can launch our satellites into these orbits. So we're quite fortunate, okay, with the support from MCMC, we have been able to design and complete our design and doing our filing right now as we speak right now, okay, to get the orbits and the design and the orbits that for our satellite to launch in year 2022. So this is a very difficult things to accomplish. Become a member of ITU, or you need to have your satellite design, you need to have your engineering. So we are fortunately able to secure our membership in a record time of 2 months. So with the launching of satellites, we need to look for money, funding. So we are establishing ourselves to be ready to file for IPO listing in the US capital market in year 2022. So with the access to funding, with the access to technology, and the access to market, to Southeast Asia market, to provide satellite connectivities to the population in Southeast Asia, Angkasa X is set, okay, to deliver our vision and mission to be the first Buatan Malaysia satellite engineering company in Malaysia, okay, and for the Southeast Asia market. With that, I ask for the support from all the government agencies, from MYSA, from all the agency, MIDA, MDAC, to work together with us to develop the satellite engineering, the space tech ecosystem, the space tech industries in Malaysia for the Southeast Asian market. So Angkasa is committed to continue to invest not only in financially, in terms of bringing more talent, develop more so-called bringing more causeway from overseas, so we can actually build out the entire ecosystem with the next 10 years or so. So with that, I ask for all the support from the private sector as well, your application to roll out in the future can work together with Angkasa X satellite services. So we are looking at a possibility, okay, to develop the first generation of Angkasa X, first generation of satellite services applications for our various industries in Southeast Asia, for logistics, for logistics tracking, for others applications that eventually we use satellite LEO satellite as a way to bring connectivity to the people in Southeast Asia. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
In light of the ongoing global COVID-19 pandemic, it is necessary to accelerate the pace of digital transformation, as information and communications technology are used to sustain daily lives and support business continuity. However, it has also exposed the wide chasm between the connected and the unconnected, revealing just how far behind many are on digital uptake. The International Telecommunication Union, the specialized agency of the United Nations, reported at the end of 2019 that almost half of the Earth's inhabitants, 3.6 billion people, do not even have access to the internet. We all need internet connectivity to improve the standard of living, eradicate poverty, especially to those living in the rural areas. Low Earth orbit LEO satellites, the present-day advanced alternative solution to terrestrial network infrastructure, connecting people to the internet from the orbit, being able to reach remote parts of any country and region. Low latency, lightweight, enables higher throughput, rapid deployment, less vulnerable to weather conditions, low variable cost, allows backhaul to remote locations. Angkasa X, a technological social inclusion company, strives to provide internet connectivity as a necessity for the betterment of mankind by offering an innovative satellite as a service to countries in ASEAN, where traditional terrestrial fiber network is limited. It consists of a group of companies investing in research and development, intellectual property creation, components sourcing and testing, assembly and manufacturing, launching and maintaining state-of-the-art low Earth orbit LEO satellites. We believe in a technological social inclusion future by provisioning talent development, technology transfer, ecosystems development, to enable digitization with scalable and affordable technology solutions, creating digital ecosystems by building and developing platforms as use cases for different communities and industries, to develop skills and human capital by working with local governments, organizations, communities, and other partners to improve society's digital advancement. Establishing ASEAN space economy via ASEAN Link satellite constellation. In ASEAN, for ASEAN.
Right. It's great to hear the vision and aspiration of Angkasa X to make Malaysia as one of the nations that builds, tests, and launches its very own Malaysia-made satellite. I'm looking forward to that. Now, finally, we have come to our last presentation for today. We have with us today the President of the Malaysia Aerospace Industry Association, MYSA, Mr. Najib Mohamed Noor. Mr. Najib is also the CEO of Strand Aerospace Malaysia. He began his career growing a UK aerospace startup and then returned to Malaysia to build Strand Aerospace Malaysia into an organization leading in the design and analysis engineering services industry in Malaysia. Mr. Najib has been actively involved as an engineer, technologist, and business developer in the global aerospace supply chain since 2000. He speaks frequently on aerospace and other technology subjects at global events. His deep understanding of technology comes through his 20 years experience as an aerospace engineer supporting the design and development of commercial aircraft and aerospace companies. Mr. Najib will be speaking to us today about space, the next frontier. Without further ado, may I invite Mr. Najib to give us his presentation.
Hi, thank you very much, Dr. Lina. Just going to share my
Thank you.
screen. It's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Not sure. Oh, hang on. It's a different software. Okay, here we go. Is that okay? Is that all right? Can you see that?
It's coming up. Right, there we are. We have your presentation.
All right. So thank you very much for this opportunity. So it's very good to see the previous speakers. So I'm the president of the Malaysian Aerospace Industry Association. I shall not repeat, I think, most of what my colleague Shamsul Kamal from the National Aerospace Industry Coordinating Agency. Congratulations, Shamsul, for being upgraded as per RMK 12. Has set out all of the goals of the aerospace industry between now and the year 2030. So the Malaysian Aerospace Industry Association is, let me just do a quick introduction. We have 80 members. So those range from the very large internationals, Safran, Spirit Aerosystems, and then the Malaysian GLCs, UMW, the DRB Group, and others, as well as a group of maybe up to about 50 to 60% SMEs, which produce sub-components for these large companies and export directly as well in some cases. The Aerospace Association represents these members as an international voice, as a grouping of companies, as a platform for the government, which, as Shamsul has shown in RMK 12, we work very closely for the prioritization for the aerospace industry in the plans. And as stated by Bro Shamsul and the representative from MIDA, aerospace has a special role in terms of industrial development for the country, right? So the board of MYSA consists of the CEOs of these companies, and the representation at the board represents effectively decisions being made by the top management of the aerospace industry in the country. So the board of MYSA decides on several key areas: industrial development in terms of market development, one; the manufacturing sector, how do we build the capabilities of manufacturing, the MRO, capability development, human capital, supporting that, as well as research and technology. We found that the space industry is something which is beginning to grow in our backyard as well, because we work for the companies like Airbus and Boeing, both of which have got space as part of their portfolio. So the industry is more than 50 years old. These are some of the members of our association. If you look at the growth of the industry over the last 50 years, the technology capability now is design and build for product development. So we can design and build major, or what you call critical aircraft components, both in metals and composites. In several cases, the companies that you see here have also been involved with space vehicle development and design. So my company, for example, Strand, has worked on satellites structures in the past as well, and systems. The capability of the industry also extends now into the data and the data analytics realm. Organizations like Airbus Customer Services Malaysia manage a lot of the Airbus decision-making on fleet management for the region. Airbus Customer Services Malaysia is responsible for the whole of the Asia region. I think apart from China, there are only 4 Airbus customer services centers in the world, which control 24 hours of Airbus support for the fleet globally. So Airbus Customer Services Malaysia would be the place where you would manage issues on the ground on aircraft from the Middle East, for example, an Emirates aircraft, a Qatari aircraft, Air India aircraft, right? And certainly Malaysia Airlines and Air Asia as well. So this is a massive data exercise. And as you know, Airbus is collaborating with Palantir as one of the big data initiatives in the aerospace sector to look at how data will enrich and evolve the aerospace manufacturing and operations. UMW Aerospace is a company which was quite new. 2015 only did they enter the aerospace industry from what was automotive industry. And I think what that shows in particular to do with future technologies like space is the ability of Malaysian companies to adapt. So UMW, with no experience in aerospace, became a tier 1 engine components manufacturer to Rolls-Royce. So what you see there is a fan case, which is 4,000 parts predominantly made of titanium, which hold the engine of the Trent 1000, 7000 and 1000 and 7000 engine on the 787 and the A330, right? So that's a critical part that holds the engine to the aircraft, right? So with these kind of capabilities, in fact, Malaysia has been a major part of the global aerospace supply chain. And everything you see in red here, if you're flying on a plane, chances are some of it's made in Malaysia, right, as a single source. And like I said, it's designed and built in Malaysia, right? So the purpose of showing you, so this is supply chain. The purpose of showing you this is that these capabilities that have been built up over the years now, Malaysia has from up to sub-assembly capabilities you see in the red here, right down to providing some of these raw material supports, right? But these capabilities are also common to other high tech industries. The standards at which the aerospace industry in Malaysia operates is obviously global. So when we manufacture a part, we don't manufacture for a local company, we manufacture for Airbus or Boeing. So the standards that we adhere to are necessarily global. And if you look at the operations of aerospace companies in Malaysia, the way that they operate and the standards at which they operate, from quality management to people development to product development, is at the same level as you would find in any aerospace hub in the world, right? So we're lending ourselves quite nicely to a growing space industry, albeit it is still fledgling in this country, right? So here's where I wanted to maybe diverge a little bit from just the talking about the space industry as purely an industrial concern. I think here, in as far as the title of the presentation is concerned, right, we're talking about the next frontier. And this means something quite different from when I was a child. So when I was a child, the next frontier in space would have been imagined by the likes of NASA, and then you'd imagine, Star Trek or you'd imagine Star Wars, right? After that. But today, I find that the space industry is, as I think the previous presenter has shown, is very much a consumer based industry, right? It's going towards a consumer. So all the companies you see here, this is the 2020 top 10 largest companies by capitalization, i.e. invested companies. That means how much capitalization they've got in terms of investment. You see technology companies dominating this space. And as I think many of you are aware, there is a billionaire space race going on at the moment, where these three characters, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos, are leading the charge, right? Now, why the interest in space? I think the previous presenter has shown it. It is about connectivity. It is about telecommunications. It's about data. It's about people getting value and distributing value across the planet, right? And when we looked at the space industry, in the 70s, right? So the price of one of these NASA space shuttles was $1.5 billion. I think there's quite a lot of different numbers that have been thrown about. But I think the key thing there is compare that to a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, where it's $62 million to develop, right? And if you look at the heads of the organizations, I've juxtaposed Elon Musk here against a typical NASA sort of director. The character of the space industry has evolved quite tremendously. So it being much more close, I think, now to the consumer means that it's very much more democratized industry, right, going forward. And it is about the service industry. So the aerospace industry, in fact, has the similar sort of evolution. When I was much younger, so I am about the age of Elon Musk now. He's at 50 and 45. The aerospace, the aviation industry was an exclusive industry, right? So companies owned their planes, and you paid a premium to fly on an aircraft, right? You used to get dressed up very much like this gentleman on the left here, to get onto a plane to fly over from Malaysia, say, to the UK or something like that, right? It was very much an exclusive industry. But somewhere around the 90s, where you see the low-cost carriers, Ryanair, and you see EasyJet coming into the picture, it changed completely the aerospace industry. So the A320 and the 737s that you see dominating the sky, 60% of all aircraft in the sky today for the aviation industry are the single-aisle aircraft, right? Less than 150 seats typically capacity, and they're about connecting masses of people. Again, my friends, workers in his company, if they are foreign laborers, they would come in the past, via boat, but today they would come via plane, right? They take an Air Asia ticket and come over. So very much more accessible as an industry already, aerospace, and that has changed also the way we design and build aircraft tremendously. It has changed that scene tremendously, and my company's strength is almost as a result of that, where the supply chain, which was originally only European and American, has been spread out right across the world to look for best cost, best competitive pricing on products and services, right? So I think this is where the space industry is going towards. It is going in that direction, and I think there's more opportunity for participation of other countries into what is today the new generation of space race, right? And from space technology, as we showed just now, from aerospace, we can access different other industries, high-end industries. You see these entrepreneurs, again, using space technology and aerospace technology to disrupt other industries. So Starlink disrupts telecommunications. SpaceX is disrupting space itself. Same technology applied to Hyperloop for transportation. The Boring company looking at building tunnels so that we can have these Hyperloops underground. And then obviously Tesla, which famously has combined space and automotive in a very interesting way by Elon Musk firing his Tesla car into space, right? The disruption on the auto industry, actually, I feel is one of the most significant. There's a lot of aerospace technology that's been built into the way that the Tesla cars have been developed. But effectively, Tesla is pushing for a mobility as a service business model, right? And as you go from these kind of business models, and Malaysia tries to transform now from what is a foreign labor reliant economy into one which is knowledge driven, we find that the industry landscape is beginning to evolve, right? So this is a traditional way that we used to think about industrial development in Malaysia. We would, MYDA, for example, would encourage companies to come and invest in the country, right? So these are the big black bars here. And this whole section here would account for, let's say, the mobile phone manufacturing industry, right? So if you had all the capabilities in this one bar here, then this one section here, you could manufacture a whole mobile phone. So what we would do is incentivize these anchor companies to grow, And then finally, we try and get what these gray bars are smaller SME companies joining into the supply chain and creating what is a robust supply chain for, say, mobile phone production. But what we see now is that greater agility is being driven into the supply chain because product definitions are changing much faster. And so I see that as information and data as facilitated by the space industry, but potentially going forward, it will change the way that the supply chain is configured and how it is mobilized towards product development. So what you see here are smaller units of agile manufacturing companies which may employ things like 3D printing technology. They may employ things like digital design management systems which allow them to collaborate very quickly on co-developing products, right? These supply chains then are able to mobilize in any part of the world so that you can have more localized production of consumer products, for example, right? Or even satellite products. So in other words, I could ship the data of a satellite design from the US to Kelang, for example, and if there's a cluster of companies with the right 3D printing machines and the right engineers here, they could reproduce this and have me a satellite locally produced using the data from an external source, right? So I think this is the new evolution of the supply chain. We're beginning to see evidence of this happening with our aerospace industry supply chain, and we are readying ourselves for this level of agility as we're going forward, right? So this is a very close to home example I like to use as the service business model. So like I said, the aerospace industry has gone into the as a service, the aircraft as a service business model, and the space, I think the last speaker also mentioned, the as a service or service business models around the space industry. Something very close to home is someone like COE, right? So when we look at this kind of technologies, what does the space telecommunication industry enable is a new service economy, which we must build capability in country for. So here I show you COE, where they today also make mattresses, on a service business model. They provide these mattresses to you for a monthly charge. Somebody from Malaysia does the service, but the majority of the revenue goes to Korea, right? So the space economy has this risk associated with it if we are not actively participated in it, in that we may outsource our space economy, which is probably mostly data-driven and knowledge-driven, to some other service provider outside, which will provide us the value proposition we need. So maybe companies like Angkasa X, which are locally founded, are important to ensure that these jobs and these opportunities remain in Malaysia and benefit Malaysians through Malaysian endeavors, right? Actually, and so when it comes to investing today, I won't go too far into this one. This is my last two slides. If you study a company called ARK Invest, ARK Invest is the original or large investor into Tesla, right? You see that investment today in the technology space is usually thematic. So if you look at ARK Invest, their themes are artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, fintech, DNA sequencing, robotics, 3D printing, right? So these are major moves that they expect that the industry will make, right? Across the board, whether you're producing rockets, spacecraft rockets, aircraft, automobiles, or consumer goods, right? These technologies will start coming into play, right? And DNA sequencing, obviously, in the new fields of medicine, also enabled a lot by the space industry today. So when we look at these kind of spaces of investment, what we need to understand is that they go across the board in terms of disrupting multiple industries. So space capability is key because it tends to push the boundaries of a lot of these technologies, and in their application usually give us step changes in terms of value proposition, right? So if you make a breakthrough, for example, in DNA sequencing by out of orbit biological testing or whatever it is, right? That could change the way that we would look at, say, biosimilars drugs in the world today, right? And how we deal with cancer, for example. So these kind of capabilities are driven by these apex industries like space. And I think that's an important point to make here. What is the next frontier is actually this ability to develop technologies, right? And so when ARK Invest looks at this, it looks at a process of ideation, sizing the opportunity, stock selection and valuation, then portfolio and risk management to do with companies associated with these kind of disruptive technologies, again, of which space and aerospace are at the forefront. Yeah. And so this is the final slide. This is something that my company has developed. And we are looking at the implementation of based on a lot of the consulting work we did. We've done a lot of turnkey consulting work for the government, for businesses. And what we find is that businesses today have to learn how to manage disruption, right? So our model looks at performance tracking, identifying risk, trends, and significant events, and controls and measures, right, as four major activities that companies need to be involved with. And through there are data measures which you can start to monitor to look at how your business as usual is going to be evolving into something being disrupted, right? And if you are at pace with the disruption, when the new equilibrium happens, you will survive and thrive, right? So as a very good example, today, the aerospace industry, we're pushing for digitalization as a must. Our industry is already being disrupted by COVID, so higher requirements for environmental concerns right from the shop floor into the engines of the aircraft with hydrogen propulsion and so on and so forth. So with all this efficiency push, you find that digitization is one of the most fundamental things that our industry must now embrace. So in the disruption, if we don't digitize fast enough and we still stay with our manual processes in our supply chain, then we will be precluded from bidding on Airbus and Boeing projects. That's the disruption that we already begin to see now. But if you're able to make it through into the new equilibrium, we will be amongst the new companies which will then be able to thrive based on the new requirements by the Airbuses and Boeings of this world. Also, as they go into things like urban air mobility, which is flying cars popularly referred to here, and other forms of transportation like you saw Elon Musk and the Hyperloop, right? So this cycle of disruption management, I think, is key, and space is a major disruptor. So you saw from the start, this industry is from a very exclusive industry, is becoming a very close consumer-based industry. And every time a model goes from there to there, as we saw with the aerospace industry going from premium airlines to low-cost airlines, it disrupts everything in that supply chain, from the way that you buy a ticket right down to the way that the aircraft is designed and produced, right? So I'd like to leave you all with that thought. This is the kind of thing that the next frontier looks like, and Malaysia has to be at the forefront of this in order to thrive. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Najib. It's indeed true, because I think one of the reports given by the Satellite Industry Association, they themselves has also predicted that in the next 10, 20 years, the downstream business, those services provided by the satellite, that will provide the major income for any countries that's going into the space business. So we are no longer talking about the upstream side, but a lot of the income will be generated from the downstream side. So yeah, and I see Maya is actually doing a lot to to really identify the small businesses and then put them together, group them together, so that they become part of the big ecosystem. I've seen you have done that with the aerospace, so we're going to move forward with the space industries.
Excellent.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay, so now we have come to the highlight of our webinar, which is the question and answer session. So we have all of us, could we have all our presenters back, please? Okay, so, right. So we have our first question. Okay, so our first question is directed to Maida and to Angkasa X. So the question is this: We need to define a strategy on how to capitalize on the benefits of space activities and utilize space in supporting other industrial sectors, as well as socio-economic development policies. This is to ensure a more integrated economy is formed. In your view, what kind of strategies should we put in place in terms of financial and networking opportunities to foster the growth and support the evolution of private sectors? And I think this question is also related to a question that we have from our YouTube. Got a comment from Ahmad Zuri bin Shamiri. Well, his question is, are there any foreign direct investment in R&D in Malaysia? If any, what are the terms and agreements? So basically, it relates to the question, to this question as well. So in general, what kind of strategies should we have in place? Not only the FDI, but everything else. So perhaps we start off with Maida, Mr. Shamsul.
No sound.
We can't hear you, Mr. Shamsul.
Yeah, I was muted just now. Okay, thank you for the question, Dr. Elena. Well, I think MYSA has put in place the strategy not just for space, because space is quite new to us, right? So, but what we are doing basically on the programs that we have done so far, to benefit our local and also foreign companies are, the sourcing opportunities, especially this is for our local companies. Whenever we do or we evaluate applications for foreign companies, we always have these conditions for them to give the business opportunities to our local companies. So this will be also expanded or extended to our space companies. Be it foreign companies or local companies, so that we can develop this supply chain capabilities among our local companies. That is one. The other one, programs that we are undertaking to promote this industry. I give you an example of aerospace industry, whereby we have got a few programs together with Maya, NICO, and other government agencies to promote the aerospace industry. So we will do the same thing for the space industry as well, to get our foreign companies to know more about what they can do if they invest in Malaysia, what they can get from the Malaysian government if they invest in the country, right? And also we, for aerospace companies or local companies, we have facilitated them insofar as bringing them, to the source of opportunities. One of the examples that I can share with you is that in 2019, we brought about 10 of them, local companies, to Turkey to explore these business opportunities between the local and also the Turkish aerospace company. And as far as financial support, I think we have both fiscal and non-fiscal financial support or incentives, for on the likes of grants, for example. Companies who are doing some manufacturing projects in the country, they can be already mentioned in my earlier presentation. We have got this domestic investment strategic funds, is a matching grant, for these 5 elements: training, R&D, what we call modernization of equipment and machinery, and so on and so forth. Then also the latest that have been announced by the government is the soft loan. I think for aerospace, it's about 500 million ringgit for R&D purposes, right? And when you talk about R&D, I just want to let you know again, we don't have any space companies that are been given any of this R&D incentive yet. But for aerospace, yes, yeah, one company they are undertaking R&D activity for the next generation repair method and repair equipment for the next generation of aircrafts. We have given, where the government has approved this grant of about a few million grant to this German 100% German company. Yeah, for them to undertake their R&D, as I mentioned just now. R&D covers the what they call 25% of the salary can be subsidized by the government on the training programs, R&D training programs, also R&D equipment and machinery. I mean, solely used for R&D, yeah, and a few other things that I will share later. Yeah, if those just a party who wants to know more. Yeah, but I also want to echo on what is the in the condition or terms and agreement for technology transfer for Malaysians, right? For R&D, they must do the few things. One is the sourcing, apart from the conditions given on the investment, because they need to invest, then only they will get this what they call the support given by the government. Apart from that is on the training program. They must do training program for Malaysians. Number two, on the collaboration with local universities and training institutions, they have to do it, right? Then number three is on vendor development programs and also outsourcing opportunities. These are some of the conditions that we impose for them, you know, to get the support from the government. In this case, is the grant, a few million grants from the government, right? So that is from me for now. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Shamsul. Maybe Dr. Sean, would you like to add? I mean, you are coming from the company side, and
Yes.
you need to look for grants. So, what do you think it should be in place? I think this question is also one of our viewer, Encik Muhammad Azlan Idris, has asked in YouTube actually. So he's actually asking what kind of government facilitation that you think is vital for the private local space industry players to sustain in their business. So very much related to the original question, but coming from your point of view, from the company point of view. Yeah.
Sure. First of all, thank you very much. I think Encik Samsu, the last conversation that we had, I think we're working with Amir right now, okay, to actually working on the applying for the MYDA facilitation as well. So there are quite a number of agencies in Malaysia that we are working with, okay, not only just for grants. I think grants is one thing, but the ecosystem building is very important, okay. Okay, according to Morgan Stanley, okay, I think the prediction is this is going to be a $1 trillion global market for space economy. Okay, Malaysia definitely need to get a piece of that. Okay, I think given the background that we have over the 15 years of investment into satellite engineering and also launching our satellites, okay, there is a lot of talent that we have. So I think the most important thing is to capitalize on the entire so-called strategies to build the ecosystem is going to be key. So we have fostered a lot of so-called private public partnerships. I think that will be the key to drive this entire new sector forward. Okay, a lot of money, okay, is again in the past, space exploration, satellite is all funded by government, but moving into the near future, okay, this is all funded by private sector, VCs, IPO, venture capitalists, capital market. So again, money is important, but again, the partnership to build the community, to build the ecosystem become more important. Okay, I have a few ideas, like I say, I want to share. To foster, like I said, the entire strategy, we need to involve quite a number of ecosystem builders. Okay, I think the first is the entire tech ecosystems. Okay, I'm not talking about Malaysia tech ecosystem. I myself is part of PICOM. Okay, there's the Southeast Asia, the cross so-called ASEAN regional ecosystem. the global ecosystem, they are promoting the same thing. How to use technology for betterment of mankind. How space can play a role, okay, to provide more connectivity, more services to the rural area populations. I think that's key, okay, to involve all this ecosystem, okay, the tech associations regionally, globally. Telcos play a big role, okay, connecting to the last mile. Okay, these are the ecosystem that should be part of this new space, so-called integrated economy platform. Okay, telco servicing different countries in Southeast Asia, because they are the one actually have the last mile to the consumers. And if you're talking about servicing to the rural population, you may need to work with CSR program promoters. Okay, there are programs companies out there working with World Bank, Asia Development Bank, okay, to actually service the rural area population. They may not have a lot of money, but they also they have the privilege, okay, to be connected to internet. Okay, so again, these are the program required, and financial institutions, okay, is important, because most of the funding right now, even though Angkasa X go out for raise our funding, okay, these are mainly from VC, from private institutions, because they see the ROI, the return on investment, okay, mainly partially because of people like Elon Musk, okay, they see the future, okay, of this business. So a lot of VC actually have set aside investment to invest into space economy related activities and companies. Last and most important is government incentive policies. Okay, that's why I see the entire economy has to be sustained by putting all this ecosystem together. Then we can have a more sustainable, cohesive plan forward how to develop the entire space economy for the near future. Okay, I think other questions that talk about investment R&D, you need to have the ecosystem to attract company to come. Often people ask us, why would American company come to Malaysia to invest into a Malaysia space satellite engineering ecosystem? Because we have the market. We have 668 million population in Southeast Asia, and this is an attractive market for a lot of this satellite engineering company from the US. Russia came to us, okay, a year and a half ago, Sputnik, because they also need a market in Asia, and China came to us as well. So I think attract foreign investment in, first of all, we need to build the ecosystem. We need to build the market, the readiness, the awareness. So I think that's from my end, a few pointers that I would like to bring forward.
Very true. I totally agree with you, Dr. Shah. I think for us to attract people to come in, we first have to get ready ourselves by setting up the ecosystem. It may not be 100% ready, but at least something is there, right? So we have to start somewhere before we start asking people to come in and
Invest
in us. Right.
Alina, I just want to echo with Dr. Shah point just now about why American company can come to Malaysia, why they are coming to Malaysia, for example. You remember the solar industry? Back then, I think, we don't have any of this, ecosystem or whatsoever in solar industry, right? But I mean, we also involved in promoting those solar companies to Malaysia, and now you can see the ecosystem is growing, right? Right. And we are the largest exporters of solar products, cells and modules to the world. So I think we are positive that this space industry or space economy can flourish in the country if the strategy is right.
Correct. I think we have a strategy, okay, with MYSA participations, with MIDA, with the new government, the DAN 2030. I think it sets the tone that to attract more investor technology transfer into Malaysia. We are quite delighted that the timing is right.
Okay, so shall we move on to the next question? So the next question is directed to Nico and Maya. So the question is this: there is a need to develop and formalize a long-term roadmap for space activities, and this roadmap will define the way forward for sustainable activities and capacities within the sector. In your opinion, what are the industries that we should target initially, the niche area? Which workforce expertise should we retain, and which existing assets should we capitalize on? And I think this question is also quite similar to one of the questions posted by our viewer on Facebook by Muhammad Fadli. So his question was, what is the main revenue for Malaysia's space industry? So I think by identifying which industry that we should focus on, that should eventually give us what is the main revenue. So perhaps we can ask Professor Shamsul to start off first from NICO.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Elena. Can everyone hear me? Okay, because I'm not in
you're
my
loud and
office,
clear.
I'm somewhere else doing multiple activities at this point of time. So thank you to the connectivity, the internet, and so on. So we managed to communicate during this session. But I hope that with the introduction of 5G, then we can have better communication, like holograms and so on. Okay, with regards to the questions that are being posed by the participants, in terms of area that at this point of time, we need to identify our strength. What are the availability, the strengths within the Malaysian ecosystem? Of course, it's quite challenging to answer whether we have a strong space industry ecosystem in Malaysia or not. It's quite scattered, I must say, but the space sector is basically comprised of many disciplines, from aeronautical, astronautical, down to electrical, electronics, digital, mechanical, and so on. So in order to understand what sort of area need to be focused by Malaysia, we need to understand the total capability, from design until the operation of the system. It doesn't matter whether it is a satellite, rockets, telecommunication equipment, and so on. So in the area that we feel that need to be focused for the short and medium term, of course, to the area that will benefit the people at large. Communication. Communication is very critical. It doesn't matter whether you say that rocket is important, launch vehicle is also, yes, we agree, but we have to look at the percentage in terms of requirement of the total population in the country, as well as possibly in Southeast Asia. During the MCO, due to the fact that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been forced to stay at home, work at home, learn at home, and but unfortunately, we have to struggle in terms of delivering our activities or KPIs, whatever, particularly to the students, of which that the connectivity, the broadband connectivity is very, not to say low, but it's quite moderate, I must say. So in that sense, what else that we can utilize in terms of technology? When we engage together with the telecommunication company, most of them will highlight that we required more towers, more this system to be installed, and it involved a lot of protocols, procedures need to be followed. But if, let's say, we can introduce so-called satellite communication, whether we use nanosat, picosat, or microsatellite, even HALTA, the high altitude lighter than air, the balloon that can use as a platform to bring our telecommunication payload, I think we can resolve most of the these issues and challenges, and this can be deployed quickly, possibly within a year or two, and this will not stop the process of learning within our society, the process of trade, particularly the one the people who use e-commerce, to as the for their living, and so on. So in terms of focus areas, I must say that for the short and medium term, we need to look into utilizing satellite communications, how that we can expand the platform, possibly to use UAV, high altitude UAV, high altitude balloons, and so on. And of course, the broadcasting is also quite important. Yeah, the broadcasting services, because if you stayed at home for almost than 1.5 years, so you need to have this kind of entertainment. Otherwise, just looking at the broadband, the YouTube, and so on will not help. So we need to have, broadcasting facilities as well. So that's why MYSA, I think they are making quite a good revenue for the last few months or a year. So in terms of the main revenue, yeah, in terms of the capability, we only have broadcasting, satellite broadcasting, what do you call it, this capability in the country, plus whatever that telecom is have at this moment. So main revenue from the space activity are very much towards that. But it is quite difficult whether we can say it is belongs to the space sector, when it is basically falls under telecommunication. So that's why in terms of you said revenue for space sector, this is something which is a bit subjective for us to elaborate. But I'm looking at the spin-off activity, especially when we have the national space policy, the blueprint, the strategic action plan under RMK 12. We may be able to capture about 3.2 billion in terms of the GDP by 2030, due to the fact that the space sector's technology are being used for many activities by the people. So that is my answer for the time being. If there is any other follow-up question, then we can explain it more. Thank you.
Maybe we can hear from Mr. Najib. What are your views on what are the industries that we should target initially? What are the workforce that we should retain?
Okay, so
Is your view?
yeah, so I think what Shamsul has said, pretty much encapsulates in terms of the low-lying fruit, right? Which is much more on the telecommunication side of things. I mean, that's where we have strength with the electronic sector there. So that's where core capabilities are. I think if I come back to the slides that I presented just now, I'm not an incrementalist, I'm an exponentialist when I look at where the future is going, right? Because I think you have to seriously benchmark people like Elon Musk. Right? This is the problem. Sometimes I think we think like he's in America, he's some alien that exists in another planet. No, he's on this planet, and whatever he's doing is happening in your house, right? So this is a very important reality that Malaysians need to wake up to, and it's not an incremental view of the future; it's an exponential view of the future. So, so for the youngsters which are now entering the industry, when you talked about talent just now, the question was around what kind of skill sets do we need to retain, where do we need to look at our people, right? Just again, look at Elon Musk, right? What is he? He's actually a coder, a programmer. That's what he is. But when you look at what industry he has built and what depth he's gone through in every industry, you'd think it's not humanly possible, but he shows that it is. So that just tells you now the ability to learn now is exponential because of the internet, right? You can learn so many things so deeply if you put your effort to it. What gets in the way a lot of the time is the way that you're educated. And so we already know the education system needs to change, right? To adapt to this kind of learning capabilities. And if we don't adapt to these learning capabilities, the Kowe example will happen. Somebody will come with the solution and just sell it to you. And you will prescribe, if Starlink works for the whole world, right? If we manage to link the whole world with Starlink, it can maybe give you internet at highest speed at 20 ringgit a month. Is that something that you're not going to buy? You're going to buy that, right? So once you have the economies of scale, right, you can't fight it. So incremental views on economic development are no longer relevant, I think, but roadmaps are. It's just that roadmaps need to have certain milestones. The milestones need to be relevant to country development, but you need to look very broadly in context of what are the enablements that's required, and you must be able to evolve that. Just like when we design an aircraft, at the start, we will tell the airline, okay, we will fly this far, this fast, carry this many passengers, right? And we haven't done it yet. We'll get, it's like a house, right? Build to sell and build. That's how we do aircraft, right? You get enough orders after we promised you something which has never been done before, because every new aircraft has to be something that's never been done before. Otherwise, you buy the thing that's already there, right? So then we take, historically, we take 10 to 12 years to realize that product. And I can tell you, when we are going to the realization of that product, things change on a daily basis, you know. So when I remember when UMW first came into the industry, because it came from automotive, right, where they're basically a Toyota and a Daihatsu part of the supply chain. So everything is structured already, right? And then I remember the head was going, "Oh my God, you know, there's a crisis every day," right? I said, "Yeah, welcome to the aerospace industry. If you cannot manage a crisis every day, don't bother, right? This is what change looks like. This is what technology looks like." So this is a major deficiency in the Malaysian supply chain. The Malaysian supply chain doesn't like this kind of things. It likes stability, it likes consistency, and that's not what's going to happen. So what are the capabilities we need? Very high levels of agility in learning, companies which are more agile in terms of capital expense. So how do they manage their capital needs to be very agile, right? So I think things like leasing, those kind of solutions are important. R&D, if you look at Mariana Mazzucato's work on mission economy, you'll see that the governments always play a very central role. But what we need now is organizations and government to be more able to align this research for the benefit of the industries, for the benefit of Angkasa X and other organizations, so that they can then do what Apple and Elon Musk got, what, 500 million US dollar grant, right? People don't know that, right? He did. So that's how he built Tesla. So when you look at that, the government had already invested in the core technologies, and then these entrepreneurs take it the next level, right? With a lot of effort, for sure. So these kind of constructs are very important. These mission economy type statements are very important going forward, and that's how roadmaps are going to be done for this country. And if you're not careful, just like your water in your house today, right? This Korean company has installed a machine in your house to sell you your water that you paid for, right? Back to you for a premium, right? You just look at that example as something which has infiltrated your own home, almost every home, right? So, and what does the Malaysian get? You get the service fee. You know, the kakak comes to your house and does the service, but the money goes back to Mr. K-pop back in Korea. So these are very important levels you need to understand. These are the ways that the space industry will enter into your house, and we need to be in control.
Yeah, very true. Would you like to add on to that? Yes, please, Dr. Sean.
If I may, just add a few points. I think we mentioned Elon Musk. We mentioned quite a lot of names just now. I think he's not God. Okay, he's just another guy living on Earth. But I think it's about setting the vision and direction together with the ecosystem, with the government, with the industry players. Okay, again, a space race out there. If you don't do anything in the next 5 years, I keep on telling my team as well. 5 years down the road, you say you want to launch your satellites, you know, they may not be the orbits for you. So it is something that with urgency, we need to look into how do we put a plan forward and mobilize the resources behind it. Malaysia has an advantage, okay? In 2005, okay, when we started our so-called first satellite project, RASAT, I don't think Elon Musk is doing his satellites, okay? So we started way before Elon Musk talking about Starlink, okay? So we have that advantage. We invested in human capital, okay? All these people, this engineer that we invest, we spent 200 over million, okay, on that project. There must be something that's came out from it, okay? So I think we are not behind. I think across Southeast Asia, we could be quite in front, okay, in terms of satellite engineering, in terms of satellite communications. I think it's about putting it together, a plan, just like Elon Musk and his Starlink. How do we shoot the first 500 satellites into the outspace, into our orbit that managed by us? So again, it's not to deter competition from Starlink. It's about national security. Okay, I I could be saying something that people don't like to hear. Imagine your packets, okay, from your home talking to somebody sent to a Starlink networks. It never come back to you. Okay, there's so many things that involve national security. If we do not have our own telco, satellite telcos, what would happen 10 years down the road? We end up renting satellite, renting orbits from other companies, other countries. So I want to bring that forward, the urgency. We may not have the space economy industry today, but I think we have the advantage, okay, because we had a jump start 15 years ago, okay, and we have the talent. We have hired 10 to 12 engineers from the previous team, okay, that doing satellite. That's why we are moving quite fast forward. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Sean. And I think the answers given by our panels also somehow relate to one of the questions posted to us by Encik Muhammad Fadli Jamaluddin from YouTube. So he asked, as a new space startup, how can we contribute ideas to the space blueprint? Is there any dialogue sessions with the industry players? So you have listened bits and parcels from our panels on what needs to be done. And yes, from MYSA point of view is that we are actually in the midst of doing a comprehensive study on the space industry in Malaysia. The outcome of this study is actually to come up, we plan to come up with the National Space Industry Strategic Plan. And of course, while doing this plan, we will then engage with the industry players. We will definitely come and get back to get your views on it, so that the plan that we have established is a plan that benefits not only the government, but the most important, the industry players as well. So stay tuned with MYSA Facebook or YouTube, or even on our official website on when we plan to have this engagement with the industry players. So I think that answers the question from Muhammad Fadli Jamaluddin. Right. Shall we move on to the next question? Okay, so Dr. Sean has talked about a little bit on the, the cooperation within the countries in Southeast Asia. Of course, at the end of the day, what we want is we want to have something where we govern ourselves, we manage ourselves, right? But there is still some, do you think that there is any prospect of space industry collaboration within the Southeast Asia? How can we facilitate international framework which allows for international collaboration and cooperation? So perhaps we can hear from Dr. Sean first. You're on mute, Dr. Sean.
Sorry about that.
No
Okay,
worries.
this is the key message that Angkasa X is sending to our ASEAN countries. Okay, under the ASEAN Declaration 1967, okay, Bangkok Declarations. Okay, the ASEAN minister, okay, agree to jointly build communication infrastructures that can be shared among the ASEAN country. That's why we also work closely with ASEAN, okay, as an association with BIM Niaga as well. And the thing is, this is from one angle, okay, talking about how do we bring our so-called platform, okay, communication platform to ASEAN country. But again, coming to a commercial arrangement, you need to work with the local telcos. Because again, Elon Musk doing his way, so-called selling pizza box, okay, going B2C, installed in each of the households. This is like Astro 25 years ago. But again, I think the biggest is the market, okay, that can tap to is working with the telcos. Okay, that's why our plan, we believe the quickest way to reach to these households, to reach in this rural area, is to partner with the local telcos. Okay, this is all commercial driven. Okay, imagine if we roll out satellite as a service, we ask the country, the telco, do not need to invest in satellite investment. We'll provide the bandwidth to you at a very low cost. You can roll out to your clients. So you're not investing into the fiber, the towers, but again, you end up capturing the customer and still make your profit. So this partnership, I think it will go a long way, okay, to go out to a country in Southeast Asia. We've been talking to quite a lot of telcos in Southeast Asia, okay, and also, I think this is a win-win formula. Again, the ASEAN country, not only will embrace so-called satellite communications, because again, as I said, a lot of countries in Asia still struggle to provide connectivity to the rural area populations. Not that every one of them will do their satellite. So if we could, okay, work together with ASEAN, okay, driving this forward, I think Malaysia can provide this platform together with a satellite communication platform for internet, okay, along with ASEAN countries in Asia.
Right. What about, let's hear from Mr. Najib. I mean, you are coming from the whole of the Aerospace Association side. So what about working together with our neighboring countries, for example?
So, and as far as collaboration in the aerospace industry, it's a given, right? The key thing with aerospace is that technology development happens now more and more at the lowest levels of the supply chain even. So what does that mean? What that means is that the demand for technology inclusion into the product, because the product has to be so much more advanced, right? So whether you're improving a manufacturing process, or you're actually contributing to the design, the new structural configuration, or avionics configuration of a plane, everybody is incrementally increasing the technology content. Because of that, one of the reasons why Airbus is such a dispersed supply chain is that it's trying to tap into all of those values from different countries as well. So as Maya has got MOUs with the Taiwanese Aerospace Association, the Indonesian Aerospace Association, the Philippines Aerospace Association, wherever there's an aerospace association, Singapore Aerospace Association, we are closely connected because we actually are passing parts between us all the time. Right, so parts are being manufactured in Indonesia, get shipped to Subang. Subang ships stuff to, So this kind of thing is happening in the aerospace supply chain. It's a matter of cost, and we compete. So I think here, and as a very good example, the CFM engine which I showed you is being maintained by GE, right? It's the most numerous engine in the world. The front end is manufactured and designed by Rolls-Royce. The back end by Safran. So this, GE, Rolls-Royce, and Safran. GE and Safran, sorry, not Rolls-Royce. GE in the front, Safran in the back. So these two massive competing companies, right? One is American, one is French, actually are completely tied at the hip, literally, on one product, which is the biggest selling product in the world.
Wow.
And then on other products, they can be competing, neck to neck. So this is the nature of technology development and technology industry today. I don't think the space industry is any different. And when you look at collaboration, it's the fastest way to get to the end state. So I'm not a big fan of IP. I think IP is a dated concept. I think if anybody thinks they're going to create anything original, there's somebody somewhere in the world is already doing it. And the moment he uploads it to the internet, there goes all the IP. So when it comes to that kind of thing, right, this is very important because first to market matters. And I think in China, they have embraced this. First to market is the key. You have to get to market, you always have to add more value. So I think that's, if we have that kind of mindset and we're collaborating on those kind of outcomes, what we have to not lose is, I think as Dr. Sean has said, is the Southeast Asian market. It is our market. We are incumbent to this market. If we give up this market, then we have given up our own pocket money to someone else. So that's the mentality I think we have to adopt. This is the post-COVID world. It is regional, and there are some regional boundaries that we must draw as part of our partnerships with our regional countries where we are developing together as ASEAN. But easier said than done, I suppose. But I suppose the internet will make that easier at the ground levels, right? When people are collaborating on a daily basis.
Yeah, but it's not stopping us anyway. I mean, to collaborate within the countries. So I think that answers given by both Dr. Sean and Cik Najib has also answered a question from posted by one of the viewer, Muhammad Fakhrul Razi in Facebook, because he has asked, Dr. Sean has mentioned Angkasa X aims for ASEAN market. In your opinion, is there any potential of competition from other Asian-based companies that will offer same services as Angkasa X, since Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Philippines already have some space ecosystem in their countries? And I think Cik Najib has answered that very well. Yes, he has given us the example of GC and Saffron, they are literally tied at the hip, as what you have mentioned. So I do agree with you. For us to move faster, we need that to collaborate somehow, but it doesn't mean that we should lose ourselves. I think it's up to it's up to every industry player to really identify their niche area, their area of expertise, and how they can get support or collaboration from other players to complement them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Doctor, I would like to add on a few notes here.
Yes,
Space sector is a bit sensitive when it comes to technology. So the sentiment here in terms of collaboration is about the sensitivity of knowledge and technology. So most of the developing countries, I must say, they are quite they want to be sure that whatever that knowledge that they develop will not be, you know, it will be kept within their knowledge. In fact, the developed country also, they have some kind of limitation in terms of sharing the knowledge and technology. So that is why that in our case we need to identify again the niche area that we really want to excel, particularly the ones that we can sell, excel and sell. If we don't sell, then we are not making money, and there will be no trade under space economy. So we will continue to become a user as well as the utilization of technology. But in the case of sharing some ideas, technology and know-how, I must say that for at least for Southeast Asian, we are quite open, in terms of collaboration and so on, due to the fact that we have some kind of similar level of understanding and know-how. Of course, we have certain advantage compared to the rest. For instance, we are supplying critical parts for especially for high technology circuits, high-tech circuits for satellites as well as avionics for the rocket. So possibly many will not know that we are supplying this to the world market from our companies, from the companies in Penang. So in the case of collaboration, in the recent months, we have been showed that collaboration between Malaysia and Singapore managed to show to the world that we can do something with regards to new technology or new product development. The recent launching of rocket being developed by the Singaporeans with the assistance of our subject matter experts in Malaysia, UITM, Hamel and a few other companies like what is it? MTM, isn't it? I couldn't remember. But the most important thing that we have this kind of engagement, between the parties, the interested parties. And to our surprise, there is no government intervention, except facilitation from CAM, from MYSA, for them to do the launching. So it's already there. It's just that we want to understand how deep the sharing of technology and knowledge that we want to go. And of course, if we have identified the niche area, then in terms of collaboration, we can always leverage on the platform as well as the bilateral agreement that we have, especially through our trade and what do you call it, trade agreements under MITI. And of course, we believe that in terms of technology, MOSTI has also arranged quite a number of technology or technical agreement with many parties, for instance, China, US, UK, and many more. So we can always leverage on this kind of platform. So that's from myself.
All right.
I would like to add a bit on the cooperation between ASEAN countries. You can see now that the pandemic has made a lot of people, especially the business, the companies, business fraternities, that the supply chain disruption is real, and they are now looking at how they can what you call strengthen the resiliency of the supply chain, right? So let's say, hey, you are depending on one product from America, for your operation in Malaysia, for example, it won't work anymore. So you need to make sure that this supply chain is somewhere in this region, right? So what is needed, I think, among the ASEAN countries is to work together to what do you call that, debottleneck some of the challenges that the countries are facing, right? As far as procedures are concerned and whatnot, so that we can make this entire region as a very conducive location for aerospace space companies to locate their activities here, and with the facilitation given by each government, and also bilateral agreements that Prof. So mentioned just now, it can make our region as a what I call a good location and a competitor to other location in the region. So I think that is the way forward for many of these companies. I mean, I'm talking about other industries. They are looking at how do they make their supply chain more resilient, and if not only one country can host this, I think they are looking at the regional basis.
Correct. I think there's always competition and collaborations among ASEAN's countries. This is normal. Okay. And like I say, Angkasa X, will be contacted by Enterprise Singapore. Okay, they are bringing their companies, introduced to us to build a supply chain, because there's also view ASEAN is one supply chain. Okay, so I think it's about promoting the idea. It's not competition. It's we are one supply chain, because they have the thruster, we have this, so we have put together. So if you put it that way, we're not competing, but we are competing in certain area. We also collaborating.
Yeah, and I think that's important for us. Okay, the next question touches a little bit on legislation. So this question is open to any of the panel. In your opinion, what are the legislation or tools that should be implemented in order to ensure the space sector evolves efficiently? It's also quite similar to one of the questions posted by our viewer that, just let me check. Okay, so I think we have a viewer from YouTube, number Q. So I think his name is Salfi Karim from Space Mind. Okay, so he has posted a question earlier about how MYSA can support the rules and regulations for wide aerospace and space industry in Malaysia. So perhaps we can get some ideas from the panels. What do you think, what kind of legislations or tools that we should have in place in order to ensure the space sector evolves efficiently? Perhaps we can start off with Mr. Shamsul from MYDA. Sorry, I think you're on mute, Mr. Shamsul.
Sorry again.
No worries.
I'm muted. Well, for aerospace, I think we have already laid, the government has laid a strong foundation as far as rules and regulations are concerned. But space, I think we've already have this one policy, right? As many people mentioned just now. As far as attracting investment is concerned, I think for manufacturing and some services sectors, they are already there. It's already matured. I can only comment on those investment-related rules, regulation, and guidelines now. So that is already there. I think for space, it's the same thing. Unless there are certain what they call sensitive areas that you don't want to open for foreign, for example, foreign companies. So then we need to discuss on that. So that it can be maybe informed to those fraternities. That certain areas you need to JV, right? But certain areas that you can own 100% of your equity in the projects, if you wish to do that in Malaysia. Yeah. But I think that is my answer to this lah. Yeah?
Okay. Perhaps we can hear from Prof. Samsul. What are your views? I mean, with regards to the blueprint that you have developed earlier, the aerospace blueprint. What do you think? What other legislation that we should have?
Right. The most important thing, in general, we need to have the policy. Yeah, that one is done already. And then secondly, the rules and regulation that govern the operations, operation of the systems that being developed under any of industry. It doesn't matter whether it is space, aerospace, what do you call it, this automotive, oil and gas. The most important thing is the rules that governing the whole thing, because it will somehow rather support the way of industry is going to be developed. Take the drone or UAV industry as an example. The technology, the utilization of product and services are spending very rapidly. But somehow or other, at the beginning, we are struggling due to the fact that we don't have the specific regulation or act with regards to the UAV or drones operation. For UAV related to or similar to aircraft, it quite straightforward. Yeah, we can request NOTAM and so on, and it can fly. But for those small one, like the drone, the drone that being used for civilians, the tracking of peoples at the border, for the power line, photography, and many more. So this is something which is quite difficult for us to monitor. In fact, the remote control, before we have the drone, we have the remote control vehicle or products that are being used as one of the sports activity. And again, during that time, we can't control to the effectiveness of the operation as well as the technological activities or technical activities, due to the fact that we don't have anything that governs the operation of the products, processes, and services. So the same goes to space. We have been developing quite a number of products, technology since the last 20 years or so. I believe I can still remember during my time in the UK, Surrey is developing our first own Tiong-sat when I was still there, which means that the technology or the know-how has been developed that long. And there are quite a number of activities being carried out by UTM with regards to rocket development, whether it is legal or not. They knows, or my friends in UTM, they knows, because they are so eager to do all these kind of things. So without that, having the act as well as the regulation that governing the activities, operational activities, it will disrupt the ability for us to produce and to deliver or develop technology as well as products in our country. Again, we can refer back to the drone industry, of which the CAM has act very fast in order for them to support the requirement from the industry as well as the client or the customers. So the same goes to the space sector. During my presentation, I did mention about the first phase of the blueprint, aerospace blueprint, of which that the machinery, government machinery, particularly MOSTI, MYSA, focusing on the strengthening the framework. So that's already being done, framework as well as the infrastructure. So that is already being done. So now we are going into the second phase of developing the industry blueprint, as mentioned by Dr. Elena just now. So this is something which is very critical and important, due to the fact that we don't want to do something wrong in the long run. Of course, the blueprint is something that can be adjust accordingly based on the technological development as well as the market needs. But the most important thing that we need to have the space treaty, the Space Act, harmonization of utilization of frequencies. This is something which is very critical. We have been receiving quite a number of queries on how that the industry players can utilize or apply for some kind of frequency allocation. I don't want to dwell it too much, but I believe that most of the participants knew this issue, and then about the operational procedures. So this is something which is very critical. Although we said that this belongs to the government or the authority, but believe me, what we develop for the operationalization will impact or give direct effect to the ecosystem development.
Yes, very true. So I think to answer the question posted by our viewer is how MYSA can support. If you recall earlier in the speech given by our Deputy Director General, so we are in the midst of drafting the Rang Undang-Undang Lembaga Angkasa Malaysia. So this RUU actually will touch on the, it will not be, how to say, we will set an engagement session. Yes, we will set an engagement session with the players to get your views so that the draft bill that we come out is a bill that is meant for everybody. So we will get your views. I mean, the industry players, we will definitely have an engagement with you. We will have an engagement session also with the government agencies, etc. So that's the plan.
Sorry, can I just add one thing?
Yes, please, Cik Najib.
When we talk about regulations and rules, we talk about a regulator, right?
Yeah.
So I think the thing that's very important, and this is something in the aerospace industry in Malaysia, at one point we took our eye off the ball, right? This is when our regulator, the Civil Aviation Authority, was downgraded to level 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important that we invest and support the growth of the competence of our regulators well. This is very key, and this is something in the past, and I and Shamsul have always championed, because we know these are the challenges that actually they're very practical. And the regulator, right, is the standard setter. If your regulator is not competent enough, doesn't have enough capabilities, doesn't have enough resources, your entire industry will be stunted.
Yeah.
Because it will not have the ability to be agile when it needs to be. It will not have the ability to clamp down when it needs to do. Right. So I think this is something. Sometimes in Malaysia we just look at regulator as a rule enforcer. It is not. It is a competent authority, and therefore, in the word competent is everything. We must understand competence. So I think this is something MYSA maybe then, and as far as the space industry is concerned, investing in competence at MYSA is for me of paramount importance, because you must know, you must be there where the buck stops, and as far as planning and understanding how to enable, and not just implementing and drafting rules and regulations.
Right. Got a good point there, Cik Najib. MYSA we will take note of that, and we'll have to make sure the regulator for the bill is, the competency is maintained every year. Okay, so we've got a lot of questions on rockets. So I guess this, Dr. Sean, I've got no one else, but the question is for you. So I think, we have got a question from Armasa Jayan from YouTube, where he asked, I'm sorry, I'm assuming he's a male. What type of transport or rocket will be used to put those satellites in the future, Falcon 9? So if I were to translate that question a little bit for Angkasa X benefit, so I would probably ask, how Angkasa X plan to choose the launcher for your ASEAN Link satellites or even for your HTS satellite?
Okay. I think this is a very good question. Okay, there are many launches out there. Okay, again, it has to be the first priority for us is cost effectiveness. Okay, again, the second is also whether they have the capability to launch to the orbit that we want. Okay, again, most of the launcher only launch to the sun synchronous or polar orbits. Okay, but we are launching ours into equatorial orbits. So whether the launcher has the capability or not, about the cost that we want. Okay, I think that's important. Yeah, Falcon 9. Falcon 9, yes, it's one of the options that we have. But the thing is, it could be Falcon 10 or 11. We don't know yet. Okay, because as far as Malaysia is concerned, when we chartered Falcon, there was Falcon 1. That's 15 years ago. But again, like I say, SpaceX do present a very compelling reasons. Okay, because of the cost. Okay, of their launches. But again, I think China is catching up. Other countries are catching up. Okay, our launching is 5 years down the road until 2031. So again, we are looking for the right launcher. Okay, with the cost that we are budgeted for, and also able to launch to the orbits that we have secured from ITU. So those are the considerations. Okay, again, any of the rockets, like I say, there are many ones. Okay, coming from UK, they actually come up with different rockets to launch. But our satellite is a bit bigger. Okay, you're talking about 500 kilogram. Not the normal rockets can launch a 500 kilogram satellites. Okay, so again, we are still searching for the right parties to work with.
Right. So I think that also answered the question posted by Selfie Karim of Space My in YouTube, because he asked Dr. Sean if there's one rocket company established, and I assume established in Malaysia. So would you like to use its services to launch your Angkasa X LEO satellite in year 2024? And I think that's very much what you have said earlier, right, Dr. Sean? I mean, if that company, answer to all the criteria that you have set, why not? Again, it's built, test, and launched by a company owned by Malaysia.
A recent rocket launcher, okay, listed in NASDAQ, okay, carrier satellite tried to launch and get fail and get exploded. Okay, I think it's important, as I said, Dr. Elena, you put it that way, it has to be proven. Okay, because this is a investment, even though you insure it, okay, you still get into a undesirable outcome. So important to find a launcher that actually have proven track records.
Yeah,
it's a one-way ticket to space. It doesn't come back.
True. But you've got to remember, Dr. Sean, Razaksat was the first ever satellite put in an equatorial orbit. So
right.
Falcon 1 was actually the first launcher.
Yes, it was. That's why Elon Musk actually knows Malaysia, knows us quite well. Okay, and knows our team members as well. So that's why we are quite eager to work with them. Okay, given the rates is quite affordable. 22,000 kilogram lifting. Okay, for 62 million. So I think that's hard to beat.
And I mean, going by the rate of how Elon Musk is actually designing his launcher, I would presume, I mean, few years down the road, the cost of launching the satellite could be lower as well. I mean, he has actually proven that the rocket can be brought back one piece to the launch pad. So there are a lot of reusable technologies in there.
Yes, I think Blue Origin is tested that as well. Okay, there's quite a number of players. I think some China players are trying that as well. That seems to be the norm. Reusable, some of the thruster, some of the components. Okay, the cost of launching will definitely come down. Okay, again, again, we are finding the right partner with the right costing, with the right technology and proven records to work with.
Right.
If Malaysia has one, we're happy.
Yes. Okay. Another question is also directed to Angkasa X. So I think the viewers are very interested in your ASEAN Link satellite as well as your HDS satellite. So we have a question from Ahmad Zuri bin Shamari from YouTube. So he asked, what kind of throughput possible on LEO compared to existing satellite service providers such as MYSA?
Telesats can go up to 60 to 80 gigabit per second from one satellite. Okay, of course, depending on the design, how many antennas you want to put up there. The heavier, in general, the heavier the satellite, it can actually provision more throughput. Okay, so Angkasa is trying to develop a 500 kilogram satellites. Okay, target about 40 to 50 gigabit per second for each of the satellites. Okay, if you do a simple calculation, if at any point in time you've got 400 satellites in the space, 400 times about 40, okay, you get a terabits per second of throughput. Okay, again, this is all capacity planning. Any old computer science or a computer engineer, will tell you it's about capacity planning. You don't have to build something at one day. You can launch 10, secure a contract to launch another 50, it's another contract to launch 100. Okay, again, this is not, it's a perishable product. Okay, you cannot launch the satellite and look for business. You have to secure the business before you launch your products, because once you're shoot up there, it has a lifespan, about next 7 years. So every second, okay, you don't use it, you don't commercialize it, it's a losing of revenue. So again, all this play into the design, the market, and the reason why we do a 500 kilogram, okay, for whatever 40 to 50 gigabit per second, because we are not launchers. Okay, Elon Musk, his satellite is about 226 kilogram, okay, because they are launchers. They can launch by the dozen every year. So all this play into the design criteria.
Right. So another technical question posted by AI Chan in Facebook is that so he asked, Dr. Sean, based on your low space orbit, would the signal of 4G LTE, future 5G and 6G be at a disadvantage as compared to the existing orbit satellites?
I think it's no. The answer is a coexistence. Okay. Again, satellite broadband could never reach 5G latency. 5G talk about 2 milliseconds. Okay, our satellite, even Elon Musk talking about 30 milliseconds, our latencies. So we are at best, okay, at a 4G kind of latencies. Okay, bandwidth wise, like I say, it's up to the telco, because we sell bulk to the telcos. Okay, whatever money you pay to the telcos, it can get more bigger pipes. But in terms of latency, it's the characteristics of of the satellite, because it's still about 500 kilometers away from surface of Earth. It has this latency. But compared to geo satellite, it's about 400 milliseconds. Okay, so again, what is a LEO satellite provides is a future for digital applications, e-commerce, e-learning, HTTP protocols applications to be able to actually operate using the low Earth orbit satellites bandwidth. We're not competing. Like I say, Angkasa X vision is to provide connectivity to the rural area, where a so-called 4G and 5G, okay, the 3GP protocol, they are not able to serve, mainly because telco may not want to invest billions, okay, to provide all these cabling towers, 2,000 kilometers away into the jungle in Borneo Island to serve 5,000 people. Where is the ROI? So again, if we're telling the telco you can save the cost, invest capex to invest, not to invest on the cabling, we can actually put a satellite signal in the middle of the jungle, okay, and serve the 5,000 population. The capex savings for the telco is enormous, but we can still serve the population, 5,000 people out in the middle of nowhere. So that's what satellite broadband promise.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sean. Right, so the next question, this is related to aerospace and is directed to Maya, so Mr. Najib. We have got a viewer from Facebook, UTHM Eng. So he asks, what type of aircraft or aerospace component that has been produced actively in Malaysia? What is the blueprint, plan, and requirement for future talent engineer, especially to support aerospace and aircraft industry in Malaysia? And he also asked if he could assess if there's a, how to say, aircraft and aerospace register. So I assume this is a data entry or somehow like a what do you call that? The telephone directory, like what we used to have last time. So if he wondered if there's any register on the aircraft and aerospace industry in Malaysia and a database on that, and can he or any public access it?
Okay. Right. So first part of the question, what kind of parts? In fact, there are lots of parts. We are heavy in structures. So, i.e. the metal and composites that go into the wing, the fuselage, the body that is. And then, like I said, engines with UMW. And then some parts of landing gear. And then after that, you go into the systems. The hydraulics, not so much. But the electronic systems, quite a bit actually. So if you go up to Bukit Kayu Hitam or near, in Kedah, the Kulim Industrial Park, you'll see a company called Celestica. It's a multinational company, but run by Malaysians, and they do everything from cockpit systems down to in-flight entertainment systems for aircraft. So so quite a lot. But the thing is that it's not so many companies. We have a few key companies and SMEs which have very high capabilities. And then after that, not so many that we're trying to grow some more, right? So if I say what kind of parts, all kind of parts, right? What kind of complexity, at the highest level of complexity we do have, but the volumes we are trying to increase, and this is what MYDA is trying to work on as well, to increase that kind of diversity of product in the aircraft. Then when it comes to the talent, because I presume UTHM means he's from the university, the talent requirement, I think that's quite universal. The problems that I mentioned earlier, the challenges is really industrial engagement. So if you're, for example, engaged with the A&E sector, but with a high value company that does a lot of automated machining operations and so on and so forth, you can transfer to aerospace factory easily, right? Those kind of knowledge is similar. But if you're collaborating with a factory that has got 70% foreign workers, then that kind of transfer will not be easy. So which industry are you collaborating with is more important than what is the syllabus. Because I think the syllabus, generally, I and Shamsul have looked at many syllabuses. Syllabuses usually are enough because they've usually taken the syllabus from known sources or established sources and NQA approved, JPK approved, and so on and so forth. Is the delivery of it and the context of delivery of that syllabus. So things like occupational health and safety, we find major issue because in most low cost factories, occupational health and safety is literally a health and safety issue. That means potong jari, right? Did anybody get their fingers cut? No. Okay, good, health and safety. But in aerospace, health and safety is a product issue. Because if there is an incidence of health and safety, there is an issue with the process. If there's an issue with the process, there's a risk to the product. So that kind of failure mode thinking is not there with a lot of the manufacturing and operations that we have in Malaysia. So when they try and go to aerospace, so we took, for example, 30 companies to Toulouse, France, to look at moving to aerospace, and then they did the Airbus assessment of supply chain readiness. Most of them came in saying, "Oh, we are, they are level 1 to 5," and they said, "We're definitely level 3 at least level 3." After completing the 1 week assessment, most of them rated themselves level 1 or less, right? When they realized, every level of control in the process, from human capital to health and safety to process control, is a different level when you talk about this kind of safety critical and mission critical components. Is different. Right. So what I'm saying is that you probably have the syllabus. The question is, who are you learning from? And that's going to be the key to becoming an institution producing the right kind of manpower.
Thank you, Cik Najib. I think another question that he also asked, he was wondering if there's any existing database about aerospace.
I mean, there is a registry on the Maya website. I believe this is list of companies, but I don't know. NICO does have references, or NICA now. NICA, you haven't changed your name yet. Does have references, I think, for the education sector. And Shamsul, you do with the education sector, so I think that would be the best reference for a database. Otherwise, the Maya website will tell you who our members are, the 80 members that we work with.
Right.
To answer that part, Of course, in terms of parts and component, there are quite a lot. I think thousands of number of parts are being produced in the country. Of course, in terms of bidding new parts and components and so on is still an ongoing process. If we have managed to capture specific contract, it doesn't means that it will long forever in our country, due to the fact that when we take or when we take some kind of contracts from the OEM or tier one company, that means that somebody is losing the contract. So which means that in the long run, we need to continue to engage with technological development. We need to see how that we can improve our processes as well as our talent. So in the case of talent requirement, apart from the traditional understanding that we have, like licensed aircraft engineers, licensed aircraft technicians, manufacturing engineers, and so on, we are moving into a technology-based process, which means that the new skills required, particularly in terms of understanding the digital technology, connectivities, and how that we can automate certain processes is something which is very critical. So that is something that we have to look at. Based on our study that we have conducted for Department of Skills in 2019, the new requirement for the aerospace industry, we required about 7,452 new engineers, technicians, and so on for the next 5 years, particularly during the RMK12 period. Unfortunately, when COVID came and so on, so instead of taking more people into our industry, we have to somehow lay off a number of them. So we have to continue to engage and strategize in terms of how that we can continue to develop and reskill our talent. Of course, in terms of directory, we keep tracks in terms of who are the players in the country, but in terms of the approach that we are taking it, we are very, very not to say precise, but we are very concerned in terms of the real activities of the companies being registered or being captured under our directory. I must say that in terms of aerospace activities, including space, we have not less than 300 companies or organization, but what we declared is 240. Why? Because of the rest, 60%, about 60 companies are basically not a pure aerospace company. Possibly they are just joining the activities. Possibly they have registered an aerospace name or space name under their organization. So for us, we are very particular with regards to the activities being carried out by all these companies, due to the fact that MITI, together with our agencies, including NICO, MIDA, MATRADE, we mean business. When we distribute the information through the global market, we have to make sure that all of these 240 organizations, including universities, training centers, government agencies, are valid and they are real players in the aerospace industry. Although they are not 100% in this industry, but most of the activities will fall under that. So that's why we are very particular with regards to publish our directory. So you can always go to our website, MITI website, under NICO. You can find out some information with regards to the directory, and under the 12 Malaysia plan, we have a strategic activities that will be looking into digital system, and hopefully that this kind of information can be included in the Malaysian aerospace digital system. Okay, so that is my response to and also the additional information based on Najib's reply just now.
Interesting, Prof. I mean, when you mentioned that you have to make sure all 240 companies actually do what they say they are doing, do you mean that you actually go to audit those companies?
In certain cases, yes, but in the case of NICO, I must say that when I've been tasked to develop this organization, it is basically I want it to be a knowledge-based organization, of which that you need to carry out intelligence and research all the time. So when we go and meet people, we need to understand who are the players, who are the stakeholders, who are the real people running the show. So that's why we knew the people that from the chairman, from the CEO down to the technicians. So sometimes when we visited a company, the low level personnel may get shy when we want to engage with them when the company senior management is hosting us. But that is something that we have in our culture. So we need to make sure that whatever that we promote is a real company, although possibly they only do about 20 to 40% aerospace activity, but it has to be real, which means that whenever potential partners or investors wants to do something in Malaysia, and then we can just highlight it to them, this is the right partner, possibly the right partner that you can explore. So this is something that in terms of discipline that we actually implement, and it's not easy for us to ensure that the all these people are genuine and all these people are ready for international business. Okay,
Right.
so same goes to space sector, I think.
Yeah, because I think that's very important. I think what the input that you have given me, I think that should also be applied to the space industry plan that we're going to build up later. So having that in hand and having the aerospace blueprint in hand, that should help us to firm up the ecosystem in the country. Right. So I think without realizing, we have actually come to the end of our session, 1 o'clock, and we do have questions that we have not been able to answer yet. So first of all, thank you so much to all the viewers who have been giving us questions. Although we have not managed to answer it online now, we will provide a written answer to you. Hopefully you have given us your email so that we can email the answer to you. So with that, it has been my pleasure moderating this session with our distinguished speakers. Thank you so much for your sharing, for all your thoughts and all your views today. However, I believe our task does not end here. We have a long way more to go, and MYSA is looking forward to working with all the parties to build this ecosystem a success for our country, Malaysia. So thank you once again to all viewers who have been listening attentively to us. And it's over to you again, Mr. Amar.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Elena, for moderating such a thoughtful session. And our heartfelt gratitude to all the respected speakers for taking their precious time, sharing knowledge and thought-provoking ideas. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our event today. Before we end, we would like to invite all of you to our next MYSA technical talk on the 28th of October 2021. We are going to have speakers sharing about big data and 4IR in space and remote sensing. Apart from that, I would like to announce that IEEE GRSS is going to organize a flagship conference next year, 2022. The conference is called the International Geoscience and Remote Sensing Symposium, IJARSS 2022. We're going to play a video about this conference right after this. Just a gentle reminder for those who haven't registered in the link provided in the chat box, please do so to get your certificate of attendance. On behalf of the Malaysian Space Agency and IEEE GRSS Malaysia, thank you all for making time in your busy schedule to join us here this morning. It's been our pleasure to host this event. I wish you all a pleasant day and see you on the 28th of October 2021. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
On behalf of the organizing committee of IGAS 2022, I would like to welcome and invite all of you to the 42nd Annual Symposium in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. For the last 2 years, in 2020 and 2021, we have the COVID-19 pandemic, and that limits our international travel. We hope that in 2022, we'll be able to go back to the normal international travel. This is the first time IGAS will be held in Malaysia. And we think that we have a lot of things to offer in addition to the technical meeting and conference. Malaysia is truly Asia. We have different cultures, different ethnic groups, working and living together in harmony. We have rainforests, we have all the commercial crops such as paddy fields and palm oil and rubber plantation. We have islands and water for the entire remote sensing community to explore. And we hope that you can join us in 2022 and you can reunite with old friends and make as many new friends as possible. Again, I welcome you to Kuala Lumpur in 2022. Thank you.